Good evening. Thank you guys for joining us, and our meeting starts at 6 o'clock.
Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Myrna. Thank you for joining.
So all those public comments, so you said you'll time these for each person's comment?
I will just keep an eye on the clock with 3 minutes to speak. I'll share it as part of the opening remarks that Ursula gives me the opportunity to. We'll start first with your written comments, and then we'll move to anybody on Zoom raising their hand, and then we'll move to anybody that's on the phone.
Okay.
It does look like I have a hand raised. Is there a question by, it looks like Janet McNeely? May I help you?
Oh, I've just signed on.
Oh, okay. Are you okay right now until the meeting starts, or or may I help you with something?
No, I think I'm
Okay.
fine. I'm just waiting for it to start, and then I believe I clicked on raise hand to be called on at the proper time.
Okay. May I ask what item are you here to speak on?
We're talking about the South Lake Ranch subdivision.
Okay. When that item comes on, you'll raise your hand at that point so that we know which item you'll speak on. I'll go through a few instructions at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm going to lower your hand right now. And then when that item comes up, please press the same button you did right now so that we know to take your comment.
Okay, so raise hand will come up again, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, good evening, Jeff. Do you have a question?
Hi there. No, I was just letting you know that I'm here, and I think I have three items up, and just wanted to let everybody know that if there were any questions on any of them, I think they're all offered for consent. So,
Wonderful.
but just in case.
Thank you.
Yes.
John Fegans, you have your hand raised. May I help you?
Yeah, Sophia, this is Jerry with Mack and Hoover. I just let you know we're here because we've got several items on the agenda, and Norm's going to want us to speak on his variance.
Okay, Jerry, thank you so much. When the chair opens up the public comment, I'll please raise your hand again, and I'll make sure to unmute you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sophia,
Yes.
this is Alex Fuller. I'm just listening through the phone. Should I go ahead and mute myself?
Yes, please. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, we have pictures this time. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't know. Ursula and I are getting used to it with the bond committee.
I've been broken out of my shell.
That's right.
I assume you want us to mute unless spoken
Please.
to, right?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
And Cherie, you too, if you would.
Ursula, I like your beard.
Diana H., you had your hand raised. May I help you? Tim, you have your hand raised. May I help you? Maybe one more time, Tim, and let's see. Well, let's start first with Tim. Tim, you have your hand raised. May I help you? Okay.
Sophia?
Yes.
Yes. This is Diane. I wasn't sure if you heard me.
No, ma'am, I didn't. May I help you?
Well, I've never been on a Zoom call before, so I just want to understand how the pictures show up, and I guess I'm hitting my space bar, so now you can hear me, but if I unhit my space bar, I'm muted?
You are, please mute yourself, and then when you are ready when we call for the item you are interested in, you'll unmute yourself to speak. And if you just raise your hand when you want to, when it's your item, we can help you.
And then I see these people on my computer. I want to know who they are. There's Ursula, Jerry, Sherry, and Aaron.
Yes, they are our planning and zoning commissioners. Go ahead and make a few announcements once the meeting gets started to orient everybody.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is September 14th, 2020. The time is 6 p.m. This is the City of Georgetown, Texas Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, I will ask the recording secretary to please call the roll so we can determine which commissioners are present.
Myrna, can you hear us?
Yes, I think I just unmuted myself.
Wonderful. Can you call the roll, please?
Yep. Aaron Albright.
Here.
Cherie Heinzman.
Here.
Kayla McCord.
Here.
Marlene McMichael.
Here. Here.
Travis Percy.
Here.
Jay Warren. Jay Warren. Ursula Brashear.
Yes.
James Kaufman. James. Okay. Alex Fuller.
Yes.
Tim Haney. Jerry McCulley.
Here.
Tim Haney's here.
Thank you. And I did not hear from Jay. Is Jay present?
And what about Jim Salyer?
He will not be attending.
Okay. Okay, so we have 6 commissioners, and we have, let's see, Jerry McCulley, you're the last to serve, so I'm going to move you up to the commission this evening.
Okay, I am here.
Who is?
Jay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Jay.
No
All right,
problem.
all right, so we have all 7 commissioners are available. And Jerry, stand by because I'm going to use you in just a moment on the consent agenda. Welcome, everyone, to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Tonight's meeting is being held as a teleconference. The complete agenda and all supporting documentation for each of the items to be dealt with this evening has been posted on the city's website and is available for public review. Commission members are appointed by the mayor and the city council for the express purpose of reviewing land use applications. For some of these applications, the commission will be the final authority. For others, notably those involving zoning and annexation, the commission acts as an advisory body and as such makes recommendations to the city council for their consideration. In a few minutes, we'll hear from Sophia Nelson, the city's planning director, who will walk us through the process of how all parties can participate in this teleconference meeting. We have an agenda this evening, and that agenda has been divided into 3 sections. One is a regular session agenda in which we administrative housekeeping matters, then a consent agenda, and then a legislative regular agenda. As to the consent agenda, and tonight, I don't know, we've got 50, 54, 55 items on here. Any items that the director considers routine and non-controversial or don't require public hearings are grouped together and can be decided by a single motion. That being said, any item on the consent agenda can be moved to the legislative regular agenda for a full presentation and discussion by the commission by either a commissioner or members of the public. Prior to taking any action on the consent agenda, I'll first ask if any commissioners have any items they need to abstain on, or if they have any items that they want pulled from the consent agenda and move to the legislative regular agenda. After that, I will ask if any member of the public has any item on the consent agenda that they want pulled and moved to the legislative regular agenda, so that item can be discussed publicly and acted upon individually. As to the legislative regular agenda, every item that's listed for action will be discussed and acted on individually. The process we will follow this evening is step 1, I will announce the agenda item and the file number for that item being considered. Step 2 is that city staff will begin by reading the caption for that item for the record and then make a presentation to the commission and the public. At the conclusion of the staff's presentation, the commission will then have an opportunity to ask questions of staff regarding the item. After the commission has completed their question for staff, the applicant will be given up to 5 minutes to make a presentation to the commission. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation, we will then open the floor for public comments. When it is your turn to address the commission, please begin your comments by stating your name and address for the record. Speakers will have up to 3 minutes to address the commission unless another person is present and has also signed up to address the commission and they're willing to transfer their time, in which case an individual speaker may have up to 6 minutes to address the commission. After everyone who has signed up to address the commission has spoken, the public hearing will be closed. The applicant will be provided up to 3 minutes of rebuttal time to respond to the public comments if they so choose. At the conclusion of the applicant's rebuttal, discussion of the item moves to the dais and the commissioners will engage in the deliberation process with the goal of adopting a formal action on the item. All right, with that being said, let's go to our regular session. And we start this evening with item A, and that, Sophia, that call on you to tell us how we're going to proceed with this meeting.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commissioners, as well as our attendees in today's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We do have a few more public comments and a lot more attendees than what we've had in the past. So I am going to be a little bit more formal in my announcements today. So the first is we have a request to please continue to mute yourself as you do all webinars until you speak. This will help with the recording sound as well as just understanding who is speaking. I also ask you to state your name before speaking so that our recording secretary can take accurate minutes. From a public comment standpoint, the chair will open up public comments. We have a number of comments and a number of different ways to comment. And so when the public comment is open, our recording secretary will start by reading the comments that she's received via email aloud. And then once all those have been read, I'll move to the hands raised that are raised that want to speak on a particular item. And then I'll move to the chat to review any names that are in the chat that like to speak. And then finally, after we've gone through those, we'll go to anybody on the phone line who would like to speak, just so that we're organized and we understand who's going first. Staff is here to support in a few different capacities, but given the number of attendees that we have, Andreina Davila, our current planning manager, is here, as she always is, to be helpful and address any UDC questions that you may have. We do have project managers that will present the cases that can answer the case information. Our Myrna Garcia is our recording secretary who is taking minutes and will be recording this meeting. And I am Sophia Nelson, the planning director, and I will be monitoring the chat and will also be monitoring the 3 minutes and supporting on the background here in terms of the Zoom meeting itself and working with the attendees that may want to speak. So if any staff can be of any support, you know who is here to support you. But Chair, thank you for the opportunity to make those announcements. That's it. That's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you very much. That takes us to item B. As is the tradition of the city, on all boards and committee meetings, there is an opportunity for public to address the board on issues that are not included in the agenda. If you want to participate and address the commission, please reach out to Myrna Garcia. You'll need to notify her at least a week ahead of the next scheduled meeting, so that she can properly post your participation in the meeting. As of tonight, we have no persons that have signed up to address the board. So I want to move to the consent agenda. As I said, the consent agenda it includes non-controversial and routine items that may be acted on with one singular vote. To start with this, I need to ask if we have commissioners that have items that they want pulled off the consent agenda and moved to the regular agenda. Okay, I know that Commissioner Perthius is going to need to recuse on items AC and AJ. Are there any other items that commissioners need to recuse on? Okay, for purposes of taking action on the consent agenda, Commissioner Perthius will step off of the dais, and Mr. McCauley, we're going to ask you to participate in the consent agenda action. So do I have any members of the public that would like to pull any items off of the consent agenda? Not hearing anyone, then commissioners, the floor is open for a motion.
It's Jay. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
This is Cherie. I'll second that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion? Myrna, call the roll, please.
Aaron Albright,
Yes.
Cherie Heinzman, Cherie.
Yes.
Thank you. Kayla McCord,
Yes.
Marlene McMichael,
Yes.
Jay Warren,
Yes, ma'am.
Jerry McCulley,
Yes.
Ursula Brashear.
Yes, so the motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Jerry. We'll return Travis to the podium now. So we start with tonight's legislative regular agenda with item AW. And this is file number 2020-7-WAV. And Mr. Monk, you're listed as a staff on this. Are you here?
Yeah, yes, sir. This is David Monk. I'm here. I'm ready to go. Okay. Should I start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is
David, if you would please, I need you to read the caption.
This is a public hearing and possible actions on a request for a subdivision variance from sections 12.05.01 0.A and 12.05.01.B of the Unified Development Code related to the minimum number of connection points to a major street and to future and existing streets respectively for a residential subdivision to allow an additional 14 lots for a total of 99 lots on a single connection point for the property generally located at 1899 Crockett Gardens Road, having a legal description of 19.487 acres out of the AH Quarter Survey Abstract number 490. So this is a subdivision variance, two of them in fact, for a proposed South Lake Ranch subdivision. It's a 14 lot, minimum 1 acre lot subdivision with septic and City of Georgetown water. The developer is requesting a variance to waive UDC 12.05.01A that requires a subdivision of 80 to 499 lots to have two connections to a major street. And subdivisions for this variance, subdivisions can be combined to have access through local streets to get back to a major street. So several subdivisions can come together to meet that variance. And then the second variance they're requesting is to UDC 12.05.010B, and it requires a subdivision having from 5 to 80 lots to have a minimum of 3 connections to existing or future streets. And a future street means that street stubs are counted into undeveloped property. So that's what the second variance is to. The local streets through the subject subdivision and through Frederickson Ranch would funnel traffic from the new subdivision and Frederickson Ranch. There's a total of 99 lots between the two subdivisions to Cedar Breaks Road via Crockett Gardens Road. And all the streets, including Crockett Gardens, until you get to Cedar Breaks Road, are less than the required major street. Cedar Breaks Road is a major street. It's a major collector, and it would funnel traffic to D.B. Woods Road, which is a major arterial. Staff is stating that the variances do not comply with any of the approval criteria. And I'll go through the criteria a little bit here and give the highlights on why we're not supporting it. A, that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare or injurious to other property in the area or to the city in administering this code. Our highlights are adding an additional 14 lots would further deteriorate the existing lack of connectivity. The applicant has offered a possible fire access back to Crockett Gardens within Frederickson Ranch, but tying back to Crockett Gardens is tying again back to a minor street. Therefore, that doesn't help. Also, the fire access that was offered does not meet fire code in relation to width and pavement stability. I've also heard that the easement wouldn't allow that fire access. B, that granting of the variance would not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan and the purposes of this code. Development needs to have access to the major comprehensive plan streets to facilitate proper traffic operations. These streets are not not comprehensive plan streets. The first one is Cedar Breaks, it is. And concerning the streets, well-connected local streets lessen traffic overload within the neighborhoods and allow for ample emergency access. C, that the conditions that create the need for the variance do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. As utilities are extended, it does not comply also. As the utilities are extended to this area, the existing large lots to the west will redevelop and connectivity can be extended to this tract from the west. Also, an additional stub within South Lake Ranch subdivision could be added to the south. D, this application of a provision of this code will render subdivision of the land impossible. According to the connectivity code, the number of lots able to develop jumps to 499 with 2 connections to Main Street. Therefore, only one additional connection will allow more development in this area. We've generally looked at how many lots we're talking about, and it's under 499. E, where the literal enforcement of these regulations would result in an unnecessary hardship. An additional stub could be easily added to the south. This is on the minimum 3 stubs. I want to clarify, we've had a lot of comments, and I want to clarify that this subdivision at this time is not connecting to Middle Gabriel Estates, Lost River Ranch, or Cedar Hollow Crossing. It's not, their stubs headed that way, but they're not connecting to those subdivisions at all. And I think some of the comments were a little bit confused about that, commenters. Also, if these variances are granted, the subdivision is allowed to develop, fire code will require each house to be sprinkled. And I will entertain any questions.
Okay, commissioners, questions for Mr. Monk?
This is Jay. So the way it looks on the map, the only road I see that actually goes to it, that it would be usable for these 14 houses, would be Bowie. Is that correct? I mean, Bowie's the only way in and out, and it's kind of landlocked. There isn't really any other roads. I mean, there's no other stub outs or anything else really to connect with it, except the part of Crockett at the bottom. So yes. Where would the city want other roads to be connected to? Where's the connectivity that the city would need? So that's what we're saying. You know, we're denying the variance because there's only one connection, and it's the new subdivision code done in 2017 does not allow this many on a dead-end road. So we're saying that in the future, if things develop from the west, then the connectivity may happen. But that's exactly right. There's only one way in and out right now, and it goes over the number allowed on one way in and out. That was added in 2017 by the city council. And even though this isn't part of Frederickson Ranch, you're counting it as far as the unit count goes as part of Frederickson Ranch. So this developer really cannot, if that is in play, this developer cannot, because it's not part of Frederickson Ranch, but it's being counted for the unit count or the lot count as part of Frederickson Ranch, even though it's not. He can't do anything with this piece of dirt other than put a single family house on it or a wobbly or whatever.
That's exactly right. I mean, you're exactly right. You have to count, because Frederickson Ranch is all local streets, you have to count Frederickson Ranch. Now, the ability. Okay. Yeah.
Just wanted to understand the city's position. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
This is Travis. I have a question for David. So, go ahead. As far as the issues regarding fire and development in a one access situation, do you have any information on what that looks like in Middle Gabriel Estates, Lost River, and what's that one, Cedar Hollow? I mean, because essentially the neighborhood that's backing up to is in exactly the same situation. I understand it was developed before this and before the code changed in 2017, but you've got a one access point, pretty large neighborhood in there. I haven't gone through and counted the number of lots in there, but it's pretty big. Did they have issues with fire back in there?
Oh, I think it's exactly right, but they're ancient. They came under old codes, if there was any codes at all. And so, and I know from that the fire lines are not, it wasn't built for fire protection when they built these old subdivisions. Absolutely, just same thing. It's just under old codes. And, you know, and connectivity would help that. If they ever connect, that, you know, there would be two accesses, but you're right, that's the old code and that's the way it was done. And until a street is punched through, it's one way in, or a lot of people one way out. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I answered your question though.
No, I mean that touches on it. I just wondered if there were any issues there. I mean, because you know, basically the two properties that, you know, the one we're talking about, and then there's an adjacent tract. I mean, for any of those three neighborhoods to get any additional connectivity, whether they want it or not, these properties would have to develop, because I believe the rest of the property surrounding that all is Corps of Engineers. So just trying to think through that.
Other questions for Mr. Monk?
This is Aaron. I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Can you clarify, is all of the property in question and the surrounding property, are we in ETJ right now, or is this within city limits? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's all in the ETJ, what we're talking about there. As you get up to Cedar Hollow, it changes to the city, but everything we're looking at over here is in the ETJ, yes, sir.
Okay, and is there anything currently scheduled for any future annexation of that area to the city, or is that's currently not on the table?
Not that I know of. Nothing on the table that I know of. No, sir.
Thank you.
So the city has limited powers of annexation at this point in time. I don't think that even if the city wanted to go out and take that, it has the legal ability to do it. And annexation right now is more of a voluntary act on the part of the landowner. If I'm wrong about that, I'm sure somebody will correct me on it, but this is not an area that has been high profile, especially given that when the city goes out to annex, it's looking to maximize its yield on its investment, and you don't get it with 1 acre lots and water being the only commodity that you sell. So, David, I do have a question for you on the Matkin-Hoover map that is attached as part of this drawing or this package this evening.
Yeah.
Who drew the, whose idea was it to draw the street showing the connection over to the west? Because that's not technically part of this application.
That's correct, Ursula. That is not part of it. It didn't come from me that I know of. I didn't do that. So yeah, it's showing a future possibility, but that's not happening right now.
Well, that would be contingent on the next door neighbor doing something with that property, and
yes.
You know, that route may be relevant or it may not. I mean, yes. So you're saying that it had to come in and shown the stub out to the property to the west, and shown a stub out to the property to the south, that you would not have needed this variance request.
No, sir. I'm saying on the second variance, the 3 stubs, yeah, we would have needed the second step, but that first one is triggered by far.
And the first one is triggered because of the length of the run from DB Wood Road back to this property? Because
no, sir, it's a number of lots.
Okay, all right.
Combining both of them, they're all local streets, so you have to combine them both. That helps you sometimes, but in this case, you have to combine them because it's all local, a dead end local. And that's what triggered the first big variance.
Okay.
Number of lots, yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions for staff at this point?
Ursula, this is Marlene. I do have one question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I want to go back to the same map you were talking about in the presentation. And the one that shows basically coming into this little subdivision with the cul-de-sac, and then it goes off and then does kind of an elbow outside the property. And so you're saying that this property, and this is to David, cannot be developed at all because there's no development to the west. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'm saying that all of Fredericton Ranch is all local streets, yes. And without a connection to the west, there's too many lots on local streets. So yes, I'm saying that it's without a connection.
So, but what that means then is that the west can't be developed without this development.
Yes.
And so all of this land then is not developable unless somebody comes in and buys all of it and then plans a big development that ties everything together?
Yes, 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 ma'am. Even the one we're looking at, the east one, the one that they have without that stub over there, it's not developable either because of that connectivity, the first connectivity variance, and so the west one also. Yes, I'm agreeing with you. Mm-hmm.
That really what the city wants to happen?
Well, we've had subdivisions in the neighborhood of Sun City and so on, making connections and so on, where subdivision local streets are dealing with more traffic than they want to, and so that variance was added in 2017. This connectivity variance, and it goes through existing subdivisions because a lot of the times you can use the existing subdivision streets and get back to a major street. But this one doesn't have the available connection to make. There's no way to make that without finding somebody who will sell their property. And then there's platting rules that have to be, you have to be able to replat and all kind of things like that on one of the directions. So yeah, it's a hard code. It is very hard, but it's trying to protect the people with the local streets from a lot extra traffic, too much traffic.
How many lots are in this square?
So there's 14 in the new subdivision, and totally there's 99. So 99 minus 14 is what is in Fredericton Ranch, but 14 in this particular piece.
But it's really only 14 that's going to go down this little street and connect to whatever.
Fredericton Ranch, yes. It's just 14 extra lots going back through Fredericton Ranch. That's correct.
There's 14 more houses on my street, then there's not that much traffic. I mean, okay, I got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, this is Travis. I've got one more as I'm looking at it. So David, can you explain to me, I need to pull it up, but the guideline that covers rendering of subdivision impossible.
I need to hear which subdivision. I need to know which subdivision. The guideline what?
Let me pull it up. It's one of the items. Okay, so the fourth one, application of a provision of this code will render subdivision of the land impossible.
Yes.
And that does not comply, but what? So you're saying it will? You could still subdivide it, or not?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that as this land as the area redevelops, we have all this growth. As it redevelops, and utilities are brought, and as it redevelops, roads will be brought closer. And I'm making the point that one more road would get it all the way up to 499 lots. Yes, it is not developable, but I'm saying as the area develops, then the roads will be connected, and it will be able to. But Does that answer your question?
So David, where do those future roads come from?
So Ursel, they're going to have to come from the south. Rancho Bueno is not a subdivided subdivision, so it'll be easier. Someone, if utilities improve and somebody wants to cut up one of those big tracks off of that's how a subdivider will buy a piece across there. That one's easy. Those subdivisions more to the west, like Lost River Ranch, that would trigger a whole subdivision, a re-subdivision that everybody would have to sign up for. So I don't see that happening. But so it'd be from like the south, or it could be when the school track, that big ranch back to the east. I can't think of its name. I'm sorry. That is the school district is looking at. When that big ranch redevelops, utility.
You talking about Avant?
Yes, Avant. Thank you. When that redevelops, we're looking at a lot of big utilities, a lot of big streets. When that happens, then you're going to have more connectivity in the area. But right now, it's not there.
Okay, right now it's not there with the existing infrastructure, but if the commission grants the variance, this property goes forward. So basically, this is either they get the variance and they can build the 14 houses, or they don't get the variance and the landowner sits and waits until something else happens. Is that essentially the argument that we're being presented?
That's exactly it. I think he could build a maximum of 4 units on the little 80% rule, but yes, it's exactly right.
Okay.
Okay, so the landowner can either not be able to do anything with his land and possibly not be able to do anything for another 20, 25, 30 years, or we need to get give him this variance so that he can build 14 houses and actually put the land to some use and increase tax bases.
That's a philosophical question, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but I don't disagree with what you're saying. But that's not a staff can't answer that.
You do understand he can get 4 lots. People wanted me to make sure y'all understood that.
Okay.
He can do a maximum of 4.
As is right now,
Yes,
he can do 4. With the variance, he can do 14.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
This is Aaron. I do have one additional question.
Go ahead.
I was taking notes during your initial presentation, and you mentioned something about requirement for sprinklers. Is that correct? Fire sprinklers? I want to make sure I understood that requirement. Can you clarify?
Sir. And well, in case we don't have the fire reviewer here, yes, sir. Because of only one access, and the fire department, our fire department, which is over this area, it's in District 8. It's just like it was in the city. They're going to have fire sprinkler system on each house because of the connectivity issue.
And if we were to grant the variance request or a portion, so one or the other, would that change that requirement in any way?
No, if you grant the variance, the sprinkler systems are required.
So, yeah, so 4 or 14, because of the distance, the fire code will be requiring sprinkling of each of these units.
Yes, sir. That's
okay.
Yes. And Jason's probably here and could answer better, but that's what I've been told and understand. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Online, if y'all can hear me. Jason Fry.
Go ahead, Jason.
I am listening. I'm almost correct. Secondary access is not able to have, which in this case, that road back on itself count for access point for emergency. The additional houses are going to wood sprinkled. That is correct.
So you're breaking up. I'm going to try to restate what you're saying. You're saying that sprinkler system inside each house, as you see it, would be required.
Yes, required, since the fire apparatus act that their loops back on it, it does not count at access point.
Okay. Thank you. We're getting about every third syllable here, so I appreciate it. Any further questions for staff? If not, then is the applicant present with it? And the applicant does have a presentation, as I understand it.
Yeah, this is Jerry with Mack and Hoover Engineering. I'm representing the applicant, Norm Ashby, with this development, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, questions for the applicant?
Marlene, I do have one. Can you sell houses that have sprinkler systems in them?
Yeah, you can.
The answer is yes. This developer and his last 3 developments all have sprinklers inside of his homes that he has set up, that's been designed by a fire engineer and approved by City of Georgetown Fire Department.
Actually, Marlene, for estate type houses and things, you sell them better. That's my job. That's what I do. If it's sprinklered, it sells better than if it's not sprinklered. When you don't have a fire hydrant right in front of your front yard.
Okay, thank you for that.
This is Norm Ashby too. I'm here as well to answer any questions.
This is Travis. I've got a question about the second variant. So maybe you can walk me through and explain your thought process or reasoning on that variance. I guess I've looked at it and tried to find verbiage that covered that, but what is the opposition to the additional connection point?
This is Jerry again with Mack and Hoover. Who was your question directed to, Travis?
Either you or Norm, either one.
Travis, I'll answer. So the way I see it, the secondary access is a possible primary access. However, Jim Bowie already dead ends into this property. So we elected to present it as we're going to enter from there rather than entering from Crockett Gardens. In which case, if we enter from Crockett Gardens with another street, we would cut off all the driveways from Frederickson Ranch, but it just didn't make any sense. And that's the reason why we elected to enter through Jim Bowie, essentially.
Okay, any other questions for either the applicant or his engineer? All right, thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. And Sophia, do you have we're going to start with the written comments that were submitted first, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And Myrna Garcia has those.
Okay. Myrna, if you would please read those into the record.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The first one is from Dave McNeely, 101 Jim Bowie Drive. Commissioner Brashear, I'm writing you referencing South Lake Ranch, development by Ashby Signature Homes, 19.5 acres, owners Ben and Brenda Broussard. Request for a waiver of the connection code. As I understand, the city has provided you a report in which Mr. Monk and Mr. Harwell state that the city staff is against approving the waiver. I believe that the report does not give you the whole story. I am not sure if you and your board have ever visited Frederickson Ranch, a development by Bobby Frederickson, and I'm pretty sure the city staff hasn't visited us either. My question would be, how can you make a decision on a situation sight unseen? We are tucked away west of Cedar Break Park and east of Lost River Ranches. We are also surrounded by large acreage properties. Broussard's owner of the 19.5 acres, Young's owner of 90 acres surrounding Frederickson Ranch. and Avant 1058.4 acres, which Crockett Gardens runs through, providing access to Frederickson Ranch. Basically, Frederickson Ranch and potentially South Lake will be landlocked. Would be interested in the city providing future plans for providing additional connections to Frederickson Ranch. I'm assuming the city has some future plans for development. I live at 101 Jim Bowie Drive, purchased lot in December 2012, which will become the entrance to the South Lake Ranch. Basically, my driveway starts at DB Woods Road, then proceeds via Cedar Breaks Road onto Crockett Gardens Road, then to Eagle Point Drive to Jim Bowie Drive, 4 miles. My driveway starts in the city, then to the county, then back to the city, and back to the county. I guess our whole neighborhood driveways start at DB Woods Road. Luckily, the city and county finally resurfaced our driveways this last year. I believe your commission needs to get some perspective on where we live and the situation you're reviewing in the request for waiver. Georgetown Independent School just purchased from Avant 105 acres for a school complex at DB Woods Road and Cedar Breaks Road by the water tower. And also the city just purchased 18.5 acres for a water treatment plant next to Cedar Breaks Park. Please let me know how your planning and zoning commission will make your decision on the request for the waiver. The next comment is from AJ Jones and Patricia Jones, 117 Lost River Road, Georgetown, Texas 78628. I object to the proposed development, specifically to the assumption that the development could connect to the Lost River Ranches Road through currently private property to our existing roads. The existing roads within Lost River were not designed for high traffic. Creating a connection to Lost River Ranches would likely greatly increase traffic on our neighborhood roads, as it becomes a shortcut to the lake and businesses located on the north side of the lake, as well as traffic desiring to head west on Highway 29. This becomes a safety issue as our neighborhood does not have sidewalks and the residents frequently walk, run, and bike through our neighborhood. This next one, Michaela and Danny Doe, 1625 Crockett Gardens Road. We object to the developer being granted the variance for this project. We have several concerns for road safety, utility capacity, drainage, etc. We'll be attending the virtual meeting. Kenneth and Barbara Zwarneman, 20129 Westlake Parkway. In reviewing the material being reviewed by the P&Z board, there are some immediate concerns which the homeowners in the Lost River Ranches want to call to your attention. Based on the rules that currently we understand that the South Lake subdivision to be developed will require additional access roads, and the LRR will be the future object of that expansion. LRR homeowners have concerns that our community will negatively be impacted by further road accesses to the community. Our roads are narrow, chip, and seal roads already suffering from lack of adequate maintenance. Residents frequently walk and bike the narrow roads in the anticipation of increased traffic most definitely impacts the quality of life we now experience. Our requests for improved road quality are consistently ignored with excuses that current resources in a growing county are not sufficient to supply relief in LRR. Our residents will be watching with great interest the decisions this P&Z board will be making. Dax and Linda Palota, 1899 Crockett Gardens Road. 201 Rancho Bueno Drive, Middle Gabriel Estates. We strongly object to the plan for this project for more than just the following reasons. Increased traffic is a large concern for us living off a busy highway highest already. Having it in our neighborhood seems beyond unnecessary for ease of use just for the purpose of a developer in another neighborhood, not even in our own, does not make sense or seem logical. Just because we do not live within the radius listed to have been on the receiving end of a notice from the developer doesn't mean the information was not important for us to have a chance to look over and consider. We are not subscribers to the newspaper that the public notice was posted in either. Something that does directly affect us, like this proposed action, should have been communicated with greater effort by the developer and parties involved that want this motion passed. You obviously have the ability to access more resources than they are choosing to utilize and fly under the radar to get the agenda passed. The safety of our children as well as ourselves will be compromised by adding even more traffic within the Cedar Hollow space. We walk, we ride our bikes, and utilize the space on a daily basis. We stay off the main road of Highway 29 to avoid issues that will be brought to Cedar Hollow if this agenda is passed. We have to believe that the flow through traffic will increase exponentially, and our ability to travel safely within our neighborhood will be greatly compromised and negatively affected. We also worry that additional heavy traffic will affect our way of quiet homesteading lifestyles that so many of us work so hard to preserve and accomplish. Again, we strongly oppose this project and vote to deny the development by the developer access to Cedar Hollow. Thank you for your time and consideration. This next one is from Byron Zolars. 213 Windridge Cove. I object to the granting of a UDC variance for South Lake Ranch. The developer of South Lake Ranch has platted connecting roads between the Frederickson Ranch subdivision and the Lost River Ranch subdivision. These plans were made with no consultation or discussion with property owners in Lost River Ranches. Granting the requested variance will allow the developer to proceed one step closer to realizing the planned connecting roads. Denying the request for variance will hopefully force the developer to apply more planning and analysis into the best way for the project to comply with the UDC in an exclusive way with neighboring subdivisions and other stakeholders. Lost River Ranches has narrow county roads built in the 1980s, and there are no sidewalks. Residents frequently walk, run, and bicycle on the neighborhood streets and do so with relative safety because of the isolated nature and low traffic volume in the subdivision. A connecting road from Lost River Ranches through South Lake Ranch to Frederickson Ranch would increase traffic overall, including vehicles pulling boats, campers, and RVs, taking a shortcut to Lake Georgetown. Such traffic would change the nature of the Lost River Ranches subdivision, cause damage to our existing roads, and would represent a threat to health and safety of the residents in Lost Rivers, as well as to those in Frederickson Ranch. I would also like to point out that the city's present method of notifying those within 300 feet of proposed development is dreadfully insufficient in less populated areas of the HEJ. For example, even though the South Lake Ranch plats show connecting roads to 3 points in Lost River Ranches, through property owned by Lost River residents, there were no notifications made to residents of Lost River, nor to the Lost River HOA board. I suspect the phase development of South Lake Ranch, Tract 1, is greater than 300 feet away from Lost River property owners, prevented the necessity of notification. I request that the development of notification radius be increased for cases in less populated parts of the ETJ to include adjacent properties that might be impacted by later phases of multi-phase development. Bobby Frederickson. Hello, this is Bobby Frederickson. I developed Frederickson Ranch, and now that we are near being almost built out, we are seeing a new proposed subdivision to our west coming in. I oppose this because they are not going by the current UDC rules of more than one access to get in and out. I was able to develop and get by with one road, but that was over 10 years ago. A lot has changed since then. We have a fire hazard issue with one road, and most construction workers, drivers have a very hard time getting to where they're going because we are so remote. And these days, most usually become lost and make it difficult to get by these trucks, these big trucks. We would stick with staff recommendations and oppose till developer can find 2 other roads besides the main road to meet the UDC rules required. You will get your connectivity and all fire issues will be resolved. On the fire side, we have a loop back to main road, which won't work. I understand they will be sprinkling their homes now, but that is not enough. Go with fire issues and neighbors being trapped with no way out. Vote no. Thanks, Bobby Frederickson. Meryl Panay. We live at 108 Rancho Bueno Road. We live right near the proposed road that will be used as new through traffic. Cedar Hollow Road runs yards from our quiet properties. The safety of our neighborhood's elderly and not populations will be at risk with the added traffic and construction traffic through our roadways. Drivers delivered construction will not respect speed, site limits, driving through the area when they have long commutes through that said area. The roadways built decades ago and only designed for low volume are not meant to take on that added long drive traffic. The width and short sight distances at some of the intersections of the small roads will be increasing risk for all residents in the areas, and we all know it will happen if this proposed change happens. We should not bow to all developments just to increase tax bases. Some developers are trying to develop in areas not meant to be done. Please be our advocates on this and think of the safety side of things. On a side note, we all invested in these properties to escape what is being proposed. High, loud, risky traffic. These are all nice, quiet neighborhoods. This will absolutely ruin that. There must be an alternate plan to this. Crystal Henderson, 116 Windridge Cove. I object to granting a UDC variance for South Lake Ranch. South Lake Ranch Development has proposed a map to adhere to the UDC that would flow directly through 5 existing home sites currently occupied by Lost River Ranch residents. No notice of any type has been given to any Lost River Ranch residents about this community, its roads, or its impact on its neighboring communities. In the absence of any notice, I can only assume that the developer believes that they can just plat through anyone's personal property without any regard for the irreversible damage done to these properties. The significant devaluation and financial loss that these families would face from the subdivision of their land and changing of their quiet cul-de-sacs would be tremendous. Before seeing these peaceful country cul-de-sacs into becoming connection roads, thereby increasing traffic that would access busy main arteries, poses significant safety risk to the young children that play and utilize them. These home sites were purchased for just these reasons, so they would enjoy a quiet family lifestyle where children are able to run and play freely without fear of vehicle traffic endangering them. In addition, many of these homes run livestock on their properties. The loss of this land, as well as the increased risk from traffic to the animals, will pose significant additional financial hardships on the already developed neighborhood residents. Lost River Ranch is a quiet county community of large acreage properties that have enjoyed a family lifestyle for 40 plus years, with many of the original residents still here. We are a very active community with both young families and seniors enjoying all the benefits of living in a beautiful Georgetown, Texas. Many of our residents, both young and old, are avid walkers, runners, bikers, as well as equestrians, and have no sidewalks. They share our already narrow country roads, and any additional increase in traffic would pose a significant risk to the lives of the Lost River residents. Lost River has approximately 93 homes, and when added to Cedar Hollow and Middle Gabriel, that number swells to closer to 250. Frederickson Ranch would add an additional 80 homes and 14 more from South Lake Ranch Phase 1, with more to come. Coupled with the unknown numbers of lake and park traffic, the roads just simply cannot accommodate this level of traffic. Adding additional traffic to our winding, narrow roads with long, often blind driveways would pose unnecessary safety risks to drivers and residents alike in Lost River, Middle Gabriel, and Cedar Hollow. An untold number of large vehicles accessing the lake and parks, pulling boats and trailers on roads that were never intended to handle such traffic is reckless and unwarranted. All three communities would face significant impact to the value of their homes, as the very nature of what makes this community special would be lost. The loss in privacy, peace, and quiet, potential rising crime, risk of well-being, and welfare would be felt by each resident, and no amount of financial compensation for loss of land would change that for these communities. Additionally, Frederickson Ranch would face similar issues with the roads that are unsuitable to handle the influx from adjacent neighborhoods and parks and lake traffic, using the neighborhood as cut-throughs for lake access, putting the health and well-being of the community at great risk. To place the lives of current Georgetown residents at risk and devalue their property values in an already established community because of the desire of a developer to expand is just unfathomable. Furthermore, the potential risk to nature, wildlife, and indigenous plants and trees from the added traffic and construction would warrant more research to be done, and additional road studies need to be done to ascertain the impact on all adjacent neighborhoods and the safety of its residents. I would urge the board to address the future road plans and require that the developer submit alternative plans that do not connect with Lost River and find an alternate route to adhere to the UDC for this and all future phases. Thank you for your time and attention. Anna Cummings, I am deeply concerned with the idea of a builder requesting to cut through to our already busy Cedar Hollow, Lost River, and Middle Gabriel estates. This would absolutely disrupt our peaceful community and will affect our property values negatively. This issue was just brought to our attention on the 14th of September, not giving us time to prepare and to make sure every single neighbor knows. I'm showing up to tonight's meeting and protest. We will continue to spread this news to our entire community. I will not rest until every single homeowner is aware of this. Thank you for your time and attention. In gratitude, Anna Cummings, 110 Rancho Bueno Drive. Mike, I believe it's Comer. My name is Mike Comer. I reside at 1024 Eagle Point Drive, Georgetown, in the Frederickson Ranch neighborhood. I agree with the planning department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. I too have several concerns. First and foremost is the safety of those of us that live in the neighborhood. Many of us run, walk with strollers or children, bike, walk, dogs, etc., and the increased traffic will additional safety issues for all of us. We're already experiencing heavy construction traffic and have been looking forward to a time when the current neighborhood bill that is completed. Not only is the traffic increase, the speed at which traffic travels through our neighborhood is a constant problem. This will only be exacerbated if the number of homes increases. Our roads are already quite narrow, and when traffic meets at the same time going in opposite directions, one has to pull over to let the other one stop by. This is really a problem if a walker or biker happens to be at the same spot at that time. We currently don't have sidewalks or curbs, and the streets being narrow make it even more dangerous. Another concern is that we already have issues with is storm drainage. Because the original design didn't include storm drains or curbs, many homes have had to try and overcome the issues created with poorly planned sheet drainage. One couple at the corner of Jim Bowie and Eagle Point already moved out of the neighborhood, partly because of flooding in their backyard. They tried to circumvent the problem with landscaping burns to divert the water, and they still had problems. Building more homes at the extension of Jim Bowie without correcting the current problem will only exacerbate our already problematic flooding concerns. It would be great to see these problems be addressed prior to allowing additional homes in this area, or at the very least make corrections part of the approval process. Thank you for your time. Glenda Mako, I'm against this request because It would bring increased traffic to the Middle Gabriel Estates neighborhood. As a result, it is likely there might also be an increase in crime. Property owners bought in this area in part because of their comparative isolation and tranquil atmosphere, allowing more traffic to be routed to Cedarburg would disturb the serenity residents prize. Natalie Pritchard, 1619 Crockett Gardens Road. Dear friends and fellow residents of Georgetown, Texas, we're in favor of the Planning Department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. It is clear that Frederickson Ranch is already deficient in emergency service access, and the proposed variance will conflict with the comprehensive plan and the purpose of this code. Granting the variance would be detrimental to the residents' health, safety, welfare. As a mother of two young children who live with us at Frederickson Ranch, safety is my primary concern. Thank you. Paul Roach, 136 Waycross Drive. We object to the proposed variations and agree that with the letter submitted by Planning and Zoning Commission Systems Engineering Department staff report dated September 15, 2020, written by David Monk, the request for subdivision variance is simply not suitable for approval. Please deny the variance request. Keith Frug, 1515 Crockett Gardens Road. Dear friends and fellow residents of Georgetown, Texas, I am in favor of the Planning Department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. I hope to be able to explain my position on this matter by speaking to it at this Tuesday's meeting of the Commission. Jana Gilliland, 1016 Eagle Point Drive. We object to the developer getting the proposed variance and hope to explain why at the meeting. Patricia Williamson, 1314 Eagle Point Drive. Hello, residents of Georgetown, Texas. We're in favor of the Planning Department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. Cheryl Comer, 1024 Eagle Point Drive. My name is Cheryl Comer. I reside at 1024 Eagle Point Drive, Georgetown, in the Frederickson Ranch neighborhood. I'm in favor of the Planning Department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. I've had several concerns. First and foremost is for the safety of those of us that live in the neighborhood. Many of us run, walk with strollers, with children, bike, walk, dogs, etc., and the increased traffic will be a detriment to all of us. We already have construction traffic that has increased the danger for us. Not only has the traffic increased, the speed in which the traffic travels through the neighborhood is a problem, so I can only imagine what the increased traffic would do with many more homes being built. Our roads are narrow, and when traffic meets at the same time in opposite directions, one has to pull over to let the other one by. This is really a problem if a walker or biker happens to be at the same spot at the same time. We don't have sidewalks and the streets are narrow, very dangerous. Another concern is that we already have drainage issues. One couple at the corner of Jimbo and Eagle Point already moved out of the neighborhood, partly because of flooding in their backyard. They try to circumvent the problem with landscaping burns to divert the water, but they still have problems. We have no drains or curbs. Building more homes at the extension of Jimbo without correcting the current problems will only exacerbate our already problematic flooding concerns. Jim Sullivan, we are in favor of the city engineer's recommendation to decline the proposed variance for the project listed above. We will not be able to attend the planning meeting on September 15, 2020. However, we strongly support and urge you to decline the variance for South Lake Ranch. We believe this proposal will significantly increase traffic in our neighborhood and make our less than ample connection for fire and other emergency services even worse. James E. and Sherry A. Sullivan, 1514 Crockett Gardens Road. August and Kathy Costron, 1601 Crockett Gardens Road. Dear friends and fellow residents of Georgetown, Texas, I am in favor of the Planning Department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. I have concerns with the additional traffic, stormwater drainage, and water pressure. Thank you. Laura Himmelberg, 1101 Eagle Point Drive. Dear friends and fellow residents of Georgetown, Texas, I am in favor of the Planning Department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. I hope to be able to explain my position on this matter by speaking to it at this Tuesday's meeting of the Commission. Sincerely and respectfully submitted, Laura Himmelberg. Carol Pearson, 20169 Westlake Parkway. Please be advised that I'm a homeowner in Lost River Estates. I am in favor of Mr. Ethan Harwell's recommendation to disapprove this project in its current form. Thank you for your attention. Diana Hobatter, 108 Winridge Cove. We object to this proposed subdivision and any variations associated with it. Do not approve the opening of Lost River Ranch Road to these new subdivisions, South Lake and Frederickson Ranch. This is a violation of our rights to live in our peaceful subdivision. We bought our 6 acres back in 1980 because we love the peace and quiet of the country life, and we have no intention of subdividing our property as implied in the proposal. Neighbors ride their horses, bikes, jog, and go for leisurely walks. This will all be destroyed if our roads are opened up. This developer intends to pass the cost of doing business off to neighbors and divisions and the other entities. The goofy plan to provide one of or all of 3 exits to the west shows that at best little engineering or impact assessment has been considered. None of the roads in Lost River can or should support that level of traffic. They were not designed for high traffic. Further, all residents of Lost River, Middle Gabriel, and Cedar Hollow purchase property in these areas to enjoy quiet and peaceful streets and safety. Further, one exit requires the Corps of Engineers to forfeit the parkland. The idea that development can be done at the expense of existing residents is corrupt. Again, this developer is trying to leverage the city and adjoining residents to bear the expense of development to our detriment. Asking neighbors to surrender their land for easement and surrender the tranquility of present environment is pure selfishness. Further, the proposal continues to add more high-density housing as inferred in the second stage of this proposal needs to be addressed. Lake Georgetown is their water supply, and increased runoff and pollution will lead to contaminants going directly into the lake. Lost River, Cedar Hollow, and Middle Gabriel consist of large acreage plots that are in harmony with their environment, native trees, brush, and a protected environment. Few, if any, residents apply fertilizer and are concerned with the environment we enjoy. We drink the water out of this lake, Round Rock, Georgetown, etc. Regarding the statement in the developer's assumptions that all areas to the west, i.e. LRCH and MG, will partition into smaller tracts is absurd. All of the neighborhoods have restrictions on subdividing lots, and in the over 40 years, these 3 neighborhoods have been in existence. No evidence has shown that this is the case, as none have been brought forward. I did not notice any environment impact statement. Douglas Losey, 1133 Eagle Point Drive, I think he meant Drive. When I moved into Frederickson Ranch 4 years ago, the developer of SR informed me it would be difficult to build on the property behind me because there is a salamander habitat that would have to be dealt with. He did not say whether it was a Carl Young and or Broussard's property. I wanted to verify if the city is aware of this issue. If yes, how is this being addressed by the developer? Or if no, has this been verified to not be an issue? As I was informed it was an issue, I would like this checked into and confirmed one way or the other. Last set, Gail Bucoy. This will have negative impacts on our 3 existing subdivisions, Lost River, Cedar Hollow, Crossing, and Middle Gabriel Estates. These 3 subdivisions have been in existence for around 40 years. The people that moved here did so to enjoy the quiet and privacy that owning acreage in these subdivisions gives you. We also enjoy the abundant wildlife, especially the deer and turkey. The increased traffic from new roads will be detrimental to the peace and quiet of neighborhood and also the wildlife. The roads in these neighborhoods are narrow and winding in many areas they were not designed for through traffic. Our neighborhoods are currently relatively crime-free. The Sheriff's Department has told us that our dead-end roads help deter criminals. Criminals want an escape route. Increased traffic means increased crime. These proposals are not in the good interest of the people already living in the surrounding neighborhoods. They only serve a developer. Why has no one from the city, county, or developer contacted anyone in the Lost River subdivision where the proposed streets will connect? The addition of subdivisions in general in our area has gotten out of hand. The road infrastructure is not handling the traffic problems these neighborhoods have created. The strain on our water systems is also apparent. We do not need another subdivision, especially one that threatens to destroy the character of existing ones. Tom Whiteside, 213 Wine Ridge Cove. I object to the granting of a UDC variance for South Lake Ranch. The developer of South Lake Ranch has platted connecting roads between the Frederickson Ranch subdivision and the Lost River Ranch subdivision. It is the hope that rejecting this request will force the developer to do further analysis to meet UDC requirements while working with neighboring subdivisions and other interested parties. We learned about the activity by observing property stakes. Our neighborhood has not been consulted in this process. We object to added roads connecting into our subdivision. Lost River Ranches has narrow county roads with no sidewalks, and residents frequently walk, run, and bicycle on our lightly traveled streets. A connecting road from Lost River Ranches through South Lake Ranch to Frederickson Ranch would increase traffic overall, including vehicles pulling boats, campers, and RVs cutting through to Lake Georgetown. This traffic would change the character of our subdivision and would be a safety hazard for the residents in both Lost River and Frederickson Ranch. Stacy Smorelli, 202 Lost River Road. I object to the proposed road extensions on Wynn Ridge Cove and Westlake Parkway for the following reasons. 1, everyone wants progress, but not in their backyard. The traffic patterns will definitely affect the residents in this area who are older and are not used to additional vehicles traveling on the roadways. Heavy equipment needed to build the roads and the homes will tear up the existing roadways and will be needed to be repaired and replaced. We used to live in Round Rock, just off 620 behind St. David's Hospital for 11 years, and what we used to be a quiet and serene little town became a heavy, backed up mess. The growth west toward Ronald Reagan on State Highway 29 attests to what Georgetown is going through now. Usage does provide a greater tax base for the city, but at what expense? 2, water supply. I have noticed that watering restrictions are imposed and are getting more drastic each year. By adding additional housing, this will only tax the system more. This is evident in the amount of water line breaks in our areas. As these developments go in, more water pressure is needed to provide service to the new homes going in. This additional pressure is causing havoc with existing water lines and causing them to rupture. I'm sure if you check Georgetown Water Services records, you will find that on Cedar Hollow alone in a 6-month period, the water lines ruptured and needed to be repaired at least a dozen times. The water lines on Lost River, Westlake, and Windridge Cove have experienced the same issues. 3, the potential for an increase in crime. The Georgetown Police and Williamson County Sheriffs do an exceptional job in our area. Since the only way in and out of our area is on Cedar Hollow, it deters criminal activity because criminals know if they violate the law, all the police need to do is sit and wait for them at the end of the road on SH-29. 4, the extra cost of the city and residents of Georgetown. We went through the building of the Oak Haven extension, which proved to be a very costly expense for the city. Instead of repairing the existing bridge over Cedar Hollow, the city built an extension to Oak Haven. This road was to appease a family who had influence on board members, and later the same family defaulted on their property taxes and moved out of the area. Then the road on Lost River had to be redone, which was an additional cost of the city, along with having to be redone again because the water lines were incorrectly put in by the contractors. Kerrville, Texas is a small community that is very similar to Georgetown. It is quaint, has a charming atmosphere near big cities of San Antonio and Ferrisburg, and people go there to retire. They have put a moratorium on building because they realize the impact on the community. Water is a big issue there too, just like the rest of Texas, but they have all banded together and agreed to wait for a while and let the progress pass for now. Maybe Georgetown should mirror Kerrville's actions for now. In closing, I would hope that you will give this matter your sincere consideration, put yourself in our shoes. What if you live here? Would you be in favor of the proposed road additions and the effect on your neighborhood? Thank you for this opportunity to express my opinion in this matter. Mary Alice Hatchett, 20172 Westlake Parkway. I'm in favor of Mr. Ethan Harwood's recommendation to disapprove this project in its current form. I'm the property owner in the Lost River subdivision just west of the project. And the speculation about my property is a speculation. My property has existing speed restrictions that would be problematic for any future connectivity to Westlake Parkway through my private residence. And speculation by the developer of redevelopment of Lost River subdivision is misleading. Thank you. Tom and Deborah Price, 20113 Westlake Parkway. I object to the requested variance. As Mr. Harwell states, the request does not meet the City of Georgetown ordinances, rules, and regulations. Susan Benson, to whom it may concern, I am writing in concern to the request by Ashby Custom Homes and South Lake Ranch to apply for a variance to connect to West and East Lake Parkway, as well as Windridge and Lost River Ranch. This is being done without the knowledge or conversation with Lost River residents. I and any of my neighbors have received any correspondence from these companies notifying us of their intentions. I oppose this because I feel that this will cause a loss of property value, increase in traffic, and put stress on already struggling infrastructure. As a homeowner on West Lake Parkway, I believe the increase in traffic will cause a greater safety risk to those that enjoy jogging, biking, and walking along our streets. We do not have sidewalks used as an alternative and already have more than our fair share of cars on the road that I have to be mindful of every day. I also believe that opening up to more traffic will increase crime and provide people who do not want to do more access to our properties. As for the development itself, the stress that it will add to our already struggling infrastructure will only cause more water lines to break and be repaired. That will increase city expenses as well. I request that you deny this variance and do not allow them to access to connect to Lost River Ranch neighborhood and help us preserve what so many of us call home. Gunnar Tapper, 20128 Westlake Parkway. We object to the variance application by Ashby Custom Home for the planned South Lake Ranch community, and approval of this application will have severe impact on the residents of Lost River Ranch, and especially on those that live on Westlake Parkway. One, the roads in this area are narrow. It's quite hard to meet a delivery truck safely. Additional traffic will lead to accidents, especially for pedestrian traffic. 2, roads are not designed for a heavier traffic pattern, which in turn will increase the wear and tear. It is inarguable that more people will pull boats, campers, trailers seeking to access the lake and parks, which is not part of the current traffic pattern. The roads in the Lost River Ranch community are not designed for this level of increased traffic. 3, further, there are plans for a new school, which will increase traffic and its impact even more. This is a bad idea based on the previous 2 bullets. 4, increase in crime is foreseeable and avoidable given that more people always lead to more criminal issues. The study is warranted to ensure that the current law enforcement surveillance is on par with the increases that would come with more traffic and more people. 5, Lost River Ranch is a very private area that comes with a large cost. We just moved to this area for the very reasons and paid a premium to enjoy day-to-day privacy. Our investment is very likely to be impacted negatively should this application be approved. In addition to these concerns, we also want to have answers to the following questions. One, isn't there a requirement for any community to connect to two major roads? It's our understanding that South Lake Ranch community plans to connect to DB Woods. Two, assuming yes, why is a direct connection to SH29 a better alternative than the minor roads, Crockett Gardens, and Cedar Breaks? Is the current application simply a matter of saving the developer the expense of such a road? Three, what traffic studies have been done for Crockett Gardens and Cedar Breaks? Four, who funds increased maintenance for Crockett Gardens, Cedar Breaks, and Westlake Parkway? Five, is the current fire and law enforcement size to handle the increased load in this relatively rural area that new inhabitants and traffic will bring? If not, where does the additional funding come from? Overall, 2020-7-WAV does not make sense from a risk or economical perspective, especially considering that Ashby Custom Homes should build much safer and better size access road to SH29. Therefore, we respectfully request that you deny Ashby Custom Homes application. Judy Hanson Perry, we object to these new proposed road connections into our Lost River subdivision. Our streets are not built to withstand the amount and types of extra traffic this plan will create. Existing property owners and families should not be impacted so a developer can make an extra dollar. Here are some of the issues we would be dealing with if this plan moves forward as proposed. Unwanted additional traffic in already tight streets, added danger to walk, jog, bikers in the community from increased traffic from pulling boats, campers, and trailers seeking access to lakes and parks, increased traffic through Lost River, Middle Gabriel, Cedar Hollow, Frederickson Ranch, damage to our roads from additional wear and heavier vehicles, future impact from traffic to new proposed schools, potential increase in crime, potential loss in value to homes, loss of privacy. This just says Dig 629. Regarding the current Planning Commission proposal for connecting roads for planned subdivision South Lake Frederickson Ranch to Lost River, we strongly disagree and advise against this plan for the following reasons. Unwanted additional traffic on our already tight streets at a danger to a walk, jog, bikers in the community from increased traffic pulling boats, campers, and trailers seeking access to lake and parks, increased traffic from Lost River, Middle Gabriel, Cedar Hollow, and Frederickson Ranch, damage to our roads from additional wear and heavier vehicles, future impact from traffic to new proposed schools, potential in crime, potential loss of values, loss of privacy. Victor Smith, 1208 Cross Drive. Jamie Reese, to whom this may concern, I am a resident of the Lost River Ranch neighborhood, and I am writing to voice my concern about potential road developments behind my property. I live on Westlake Parkway on the east side of the road. I was informed this evening that there is a discussion regarding extending our road into another development. Most concerning was mention of creating a road along the Trolling Corps of Engineers land to create a connection point at the end of our street. I could not be more opposed to destroying the forest land we have. We love to create a road that does not serve in the best interest of this long-established neighborhood. In fact, putting a road behind our property would only serve to destroy what we love most about living here. I'm fearful the proposed variance to the South Lake development will ruin our long-standing peaceful Lost River Ranch's neighborhood. My ask is that you do not burden our neighborhood, our tranquility, and our views by forcing a road to connect in our serene environment. Please do not connect South Lake Ranch development to Lost River Ranch. I would like more information on this project if possible. I've read the proposals online. It seems the developer does not want to connect our neighborhoods either. My hope is that there can be a solution that keeps the integrity of our home and also allows the development to move forward using existing roads that do not connect to Westlake Parkway. Thank you, Jamie Reese. Doug Moore. Mr. Harwell, I have not yet moved into Frederickson Ranch, but own and am actively developing my plans to build on lot 52B at 1318 Eagle Point. I'm investing some serious money in my new home and naturally concerned about maintaining property values and the livability I bought into. So with regards to the Southland Ranch development, I have read a copy of variance request for case 2020-7-WAV. I'm writing to go on record as agreeing with the city's position to deny the request for the variance. I have a number of other concerns, but this seems to be the only business for the September 15 meeting. Thanks for your consideration. Byron Zollers. I believe we have already read this.
I think you did, Berna.
Ciro Ramirez, 20131 Westlake Parkway. We object to the proposed variance, which would eventually result in additional street connections to Westlake Parkway. These connections would require taking of existing residents of some properties in a subdivision, would damage the character of the subdivision, would result in excessive additional traffic on the small streets, and would likely eventually result in undesirable redevelopment of our neighborhood. The proposed changes would almost certainly significantly reduce our property's market and taxable value. We ask that no action be taken which would enable the proposed South Lake Ranch development or other adjoining properties to connect to our streets, either now or in the future. Michael Tiernan and Cheryl Helm, 1309 Eagle Point Drive. We agree with the city's disapproval of the above referenced project and share the same concerns. We also intend to raise additional points at Georgetown P&Z meeting on September 15th. Gerald Kieschnick, 1109 Eagle Point Drive. Dear friends and fellow residents of Georgetown, Texas, I'm in favor of the planning department's recommendations to decline the proposed variance. I hope to be able to explain my position on this matter by speaking to it at this Tuesday's meeting of the commission. Janet McNeely, I live at 101 Jimboe Drive and request someone to come out here to see Cedar Breaks Road and Crockett Gardens Road in addition to Frederickson Ranch, my subdivision, so a very informed decision can be made regarding the subject above. The control of the city versus the county changes quite often along Cedar Breaks Road. The first 100 feet of Crockett Gardens Road belongs to the city. Frederickson Ranch is in the ETJ. The city has come into a subdivision to get down to the core lake to address issues that have arisen around or in the lake. When my husband and I bought a property in 2012, we purchased approximately 2.5 acres in a cul-de-sac on Jimboe Drive, almost at the back of the neighborhood. I had no idea that a subdivision would be pouring out into our street, deep into Frederickson Ranch, and swimming 2 to 3 cars per house, 14 homes on South Lake. According to the developer, that is 28 to 42 cars coming out on our street, and then must pass at least 33 homes built or in the framing stage lots still to be built, so number will grow before they get into Crockett Gardens Road, then Cedar Breaks Road, and then DB Wood. We now have 4 young girls who reside on our street in 2 different homes. We have 4 homes on the street, and right or wrong, we have dogs who have had the freedom to roam across the street and then return home, so put dump trucks that sit on our street pose extreme danger. Norm Ashby is a developer of the subdivision who built our home. I feel he is a stand-up individual, and my husband and I would love the product delivered to us. Norm is a developer, though. There will be a new Georgetown ISD high school built near the water tower at Cedar Breaks Road and DB Wood. The Cedar Breaks Park entrance, which is just past Crockett Gardens Road on Cedar Breaks Road. The attendance at Cedar Breaks Road is one of the highest of the parks in the country. On the weekends, many cars are parked on both sides of Cedar Parks Road and Crockett Gardens Road on the grassy areas. Bottom line, if subdivision goes forward, I propose there are multiple outlets in the main entrance to be the dirt road paved and widened behind the houses on Crockett Gardens Road and Frederickson Ranch. I realize it will impact some of the neighbors on Crockett Gardens Road, but there are less than 15 homes impacted, and the traffic will be behind their homes, not in front of their homes. There is acreage behind their homes. This outlet takes South Lake Ranch cars out of the main part of their subdivision and takes them to the front of our subdivision and onto Crockett Gardens Road. Then a mile or so they are on Cedar Breaks Road. Summary: come out and inspect the entire area from DB Wood into Frederickson Ranch, main entrance into and out of South Lake Ranch. And other than Jimboe Drive, be aware, please, of how county and city control changes. DB Wood, Cedar Breaks Road, Crockett Gardens Road, multiple outlets needed, please, if South Lake Ranch goes forward. Thank you for your consideration. David Baker, I'm inquiring on behalf of the neighbors of Frederickson Ranch as we wish to have speakers during the discussion regarding JW, the public hearing regarding subdivision variance for South Lake Ranch. Is it possible for all our speakers to be on one Zoom session to receive 3 minutes of speaking items? Speaking time. We're a close-knit neighborhood and have been sort of our own quarantine team during the pandemic. Also, we follow city guidelines restricting the number of folks gathering. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Verna. We have people whose hands are up on the participants board, and I want to call on those folks now, but if you have submitted a set of comments and Myrna has already read those comments, I'd like to go to people who haven't had a chance to have their comments first. And we are looking not to have a lot of duplication of input here. So I think Mr. Kieschnick's hand is up, but I've listened to his comments earlier. Mr. Zollers, Brian Zollers, are you here, please?
Yes, I am.
What was your comments? Have your comments already been read?
My comment was read, Mr. Bashir. I do have some other things that I would like to say, if you would.
Okay, but let me get through the folks who haven't had any opportunity to have any comments first.
Sure.
So let me skip past you. Ray Luckadoo is what's on the screen.
That's right. Thank you. I guess, like many folks have said, I also am not.
Could we get your name and address, please?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is Ray Luckadoo. I'm at 316 Rancho Bueno Drive.
Okay.
And for a lot of the same reasons that folks have listed, very concerned with the idea of any sort of additional development that's going to affect the traffic and the resale values and the tax bases and that you're all used to using and seeing from us. I just want to go on record as being very concerned about this, and then also to say that I believe that these inlets that we're talking about, the additional road potentials, seem to be sort of just laying the foundation for additional development that we are going to be against, I think, by and large within these neighborhoods. And so, you know, again, I just want to
send a written note to everybody participating, please.
Sorry.
No, hold on, please. So, please mute your, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so just going on record as saying also that the notification seems to be very specific around 300 feet. Most of our properties are bigger than 300 feet by themselves. And so I would ask that the board consider extending the rules for how notification happens for these sorts of decisions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next is Caitlin Fuller.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Fuller. I live at 121 Windridge Cove. My family and I just moved in last week. And part of the reason we love this house so much is that it's at the end of cul-de-sac. We have a 6-year-old son and 2-year-old twins who are very active. And they love to run around the neighborhood and look at the animals and greet the neighbors. And our big concern is the loss of value on our property, because one of the potential connection points is between my property and the Henderson's property. I also agree with the last speaker that it just seems that going forward with the subdivision just kind of already lays the groundwork for potential roadways to then be connected, which I think we can all surmise from the meeting tonight that residents are against. I worry about the environmental impact. We love the animals around here, the sound, noise pollution, traffic is all a major concern. We're really looking for something for peace and quiet, and that is the beauty of this neighborhood. And I ask you that you preserve that. It's really, it's what draws people to Georgetown. This is what draws people here. This is beautiful, and I'm just asking you to please preserve it the way that it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to Georgetown. Marie Michaels. All right, let's move to, I have one on the screen that I can't believe that I can do this name any justice. So Obamba, if you are available, would you please, this is your opportunity. That one's gone. Okay.
Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Would you please start with your name and address, because I think I butchered it.
Yes. My name is Elena Norcross. I live at 282 Oak Haven Circle in Cedar Hollow Crossing. And I just wanted to speak up and say that I have listened to all of the letters. I am in agreement with all of those and opposing the neighborhood to be brought through for all of the reasons that were stated above. And I just wanted to, I support my fellow neighbors and in my neighborhood and the peaceful roads that we would like it to remain that way. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here this evening. Anna Cummins.
Hi, thank you. I'm at 110 Rancho Bueno Drive in Middle Gabriel Estates. You did read my email, but I left out the fact that I do back, our property has been greatly affected by the increased traffic in the last 12 years on Highway 29. The noise pollution has increased substantially, and we would be seeing the same thing happen on Cedar Hollow Road. And so we are greatly opposed to this.
Okay.
It's here as well.
Yeah, it's Jeff Cummins. I'm also here. My husband here, and we've just seen an increase.
I'm sorry. Hold up here. Just hold up there. Are the two of you on the same call?
Yes, sir. He's my
Okay.
husband.
That's fine. We're just trying to keep it. I'm just trying to manage this.
We're being efficient.
Thank you.
Yeah, also down Cedar Hollow there's constant trash from a lot of the construction trucks and things that keep going down there. The speeds that people drive down there as it is a bit absurd. We have no sidewalks, as you guys know, no shoulder. It's just, you're waiting to have an accident of some sort of travesty going on down there. I mean, we've already had one kid slam into a tree and was killed a few years back, and it's just not a good idea. We escaped a large city 12 years ago to come out here to get away from all this, and now this is wanting to be proposed to infringe on what we escaped for, our own privacy, our dream home. And now we have to worry in the future of progress in an area that we were told that is going to stay like this because of the acreage that we had and the rules and stuff set in our bylaws and things of that nature. And on top of that, there is no fire station around here, and you want to increase building, which is also going to increase the possibility of some fire happening. We're already paying premium on insurances because we're in a top zone for that, but yet there has been no increase of fire hydrants or fire station proposed to be out here. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We've been at this for an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to, I think we're at the point where we get a lot of repeat comments. So I'm going to take 3 more. And then at that point in time, I'm going to cut this off. If there's anybody who has not had their message read to the commission, would you? I've got 5 names here: Brian Zolars, Anna Cummins, Marie Michaels, Laura Himmelberg, Kurt Dyer, and Crystal are the 6 names. I'm going to take 3 more of those. So let's start with. I know Mr. Zoller's name email has been read. Laura Himmelberg, are you here?
Yes, this is David Baker. I am on Laura Himmelberg's Zoom, and we have 6 individuals from Frederickson Ranch who have not been represented yet that would like to speak.
You're going to have 3 minutes to get them all 6 in.
That just doesn't work. I'm sorry. We've got some messages that are different, and we've worked very hard at this, and we'd like to be represented and heard.
I appreciate that. Let me ask this question, and let's see if we can't quantify it. You have 6 individuals, any of them in support of this application?
Nobody is in support of it, but we also aren't really against it. We have concerns. We know that area is going to be developed.
Okay, let's start. Let me start with this first. Let's get your name and your address, and I will give you 3 minutes to start. We'll see if you've got anything that's substantially different than what we've heard so far.
So my name is David Baker. I live at 1512 Crockett Gardens Road in Frederickson Ranch. Been here about a year, and our neighbors this evening want to raise concerns, certainly about extra traffic, even without a connection. So that's a little bit different, but I agree that's redundant. But we want to talk about the sufficiency of water pressure in Frederickson Ranch and what will happen to that going forward as you build additional homes, not just the 14, but we know that 130 acres to our west, it will be developed at some point. So we want to raise concerns about that. We want to talk about mitigation efforts for additional runoff from the building of that property. We know some of that will come into our neighborhood, and we already have existing problems. So we've got some specific information about that. And we'd like to also bring to the commission's attention to fully investigate the use of that original driveway, which is currently an easement but we don't believe that it's fully deeded or anything for use as an emergency access or even for construction access. So we'd like to bring those to concern. And, you know, we can maybe limit this to 4 people, you know, but I want to touch each of those topics.
The 4 points that you've raised are all new points. And as far as I'm concerned, given the number of speakers we had, let's hit those 4 and 2 minutes on each one, please.
Okay. All right.
Will that work for you?
Certainly. Let's start with Natalie then.
Okay. Welcome. Your name and address, please.
My name's Dr. Natalie Fredrickson, and I live at 1619 Crockett Gardens Road. Good evening. My name is Dr. Natalie Fredrickson, and I'm a resident of the beautiful Fredrickson Ranch subdivision. My husband, Dr. Robert Fredrickson, myself, and our 2 young children live at 1619 Crockett Gardens Road. My husband has lived in Georgetown nearly his entire life, and his father has had a major influence in the rapid development of our wonderful community since the late 80s. As the daughter-in-law of a local builder and developer, I support growth within our community. However, I also believe we must do so in a way that does not compromise safety. For this reason, my family is in favor of the Planning Department's recommendation to decline the proposed variance. If adopted, the proposed variance will not only conflict with the comprehensive plan and purposes of the current code, but granting of the variance would also potentially be detrimental to the residents' health, safety, and welfare. As a mother, safety for my children is of primary concern. Another safety concern regarding the property in question centers around the easement that runs along the western edge of the Fredrickson Ranch subdivision, and in many places is on Fredrickson Ranch homeowners' property. County document 20020282130 describes the driveway as an access and utility easement granted by the Youngs to Mr. Bobby Fredrickson. As one of the homeowners who backs up to this easement, I would like to know what the future plans and requirements are for that access drive, given that the new subdivision has set aside lot 500 for emergency access to the existing easement. At a meeting with the developer, he voiced his plans to utilize the easement for construction of his new development. This raises a concern for safety of the families that live along the easement, especially given that in some cases, the drive is on homeowners' property. The use of the easement by construction vehicles is a fire safety issue. The easement's only 50 feet wide and does not adequately support construction vehicles going up and down all day long. If 2 construction vehicles collide and a fire starts, they would be trapped and the residents of Fredrickson Ranch are then put at risk. The curvy drive is made of broken, crumbling gravel, and its original intention was to serve as a back entrance to the adjacent properties on Crockett Garden Road, as well as the Broussard's property. Thus, it should only be used as such and cannot ethically be used for construction in the development in question.
Okay, thank you very much. 2 minutes on the next speaker, please. And if you can get to succinctly state the issue that you did a moment ago, I'd appreciate it.
Hi, this is Jimmy Bird, and I live at 1324 Eagle Point Drive. I also own the 2 lots next to me, 1333 and 1337 on Eagle Point Drive. I oppose the approval of this variance for a lot of the same reasons. And listen, I love this neighborhood. I'm going to keep mine 2 minutes. You can take that clock down. You know, I love the neighborhood because it's got great neighbors. And I know you've heard lots of comments in opposition. I can assure you these are not cave dwellers, and that's a cave being an acronym, citizens against virtually everything. Me personally, like Natalie, I'm actually pro-development. But these concerns raised by the citizens and my neighbors are legitimate. The lack of a second road, increased traffic posing the safety risks, especially for pedestrians, children, and pets. The concerns over the first responders' ability to service this neighborhood, not just fire protection. Water pressure and capacity is a real concern. All of these lead to real serious property valuation concerns, and more importantly, quality of living concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Tom Dunham. I reside at 1020 Eagle Point Drive in Frederickson Ranch. Frederickson Ranch, it's a subdivision that was planned and approved for development with ribbon curb streets. Runoff and undue and undirected rainwater has caused numerous cases of damage to retaining walls along with other lot and landscape damage. Lot buyers and homeowners must control and cost and suffer the consequence. In fact, runoff has been so bad during heavy rains from the west that along Eagle Point Drive, the street literally has to be scooped clean of debris and rocks before traffic can resume in our neighborhood. In August of 2019, I brought these concerns of Frederickson Ranch drainage to the attention of Kelly Morelli, PE CFM with Williamson County. A couple of her comments. The county is in the process of updating the regulations and set further better guidelines, and your pictures and videos will be helpful in displaying the issues that come with this sort of sheet drainage design. I also plan to discuss your request for curbs with the county engineers and will let you know their views. Here now is a 19.4 acre subdivision that's been submitted to the Georgetown City Zoning and Planning along with Williamson County. The new development is high and to the west. Because of the recent and frequent Frederickson Range sheet drainage, we are overly concerned about additional runoff from this new development due to impervious cover during heavy rainstorms. Without well-engineered drainage control in South Lake subdivision, Frederickson Ranch stands to have additional heavy water coming off of the new subdivision. We are concerned there is no requirement for a stormwater drainage measurement plan on the new development. The property is just under the minimum 20 acres and requires such a plan. However, the expectation of future development should be factored, and in time and require such a plan should be submitted. We currently experience this heavy runoff. We have been ribbon curbed and therefore little to no capability to direct flow of water beyond what we each do privately on our property. How will the new development and future phases impact drainage across existing Frederickson Ranch properties? We see the necessary need for mitigation to current issues, let alone additional impact from future development work. This should require curbs and storm. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your time is up. And I think you have one last speaker.
Yes, hi, my name is Laura Hemmelberg. I live at 1101 Eagle Point Drive in Frederickson Ranch. Having witnessed some significant emergencies in our neighborhood since we took up residence here, a major concern of ours is the safety for our neighbors and the increased response time for our first responders due to the additional traffic from construction vehicles and from additional homes being built. We would like to know how current proposed and possible future development would impact the response time for the emergency vehicles for not only our neighbors, but also those who hike in Cedar Breaks Park and are accessed at times by emergency vehicles through our neighborhood. At this time, there is only one way in and one way out of Frederickson Ranch. We are concerned that if this variance is approved, the additional homes would add additional vehicles trying to exit our only egress route and potentially add to the danger of emergency evacuations. We are concerned that the additional traffic coupled with the lake and park traffic would be too much for Cedar Breaks Road, and ultimately DB Woods should an evacuation be necessary. We are concerned about the impact of increased traffic from large construction vehicles on our small neighborhood roads in case of an emergency. At present, we have between one and 4 homes being built at one time, which makes it dangerous for passing. However, when adding the development of 16 additional lots at the same time, our large truck traffic would at least quadruple and would be extremely treacherous to emergency vehicles trying to pass the significantly increased number of slow-moving large vehicles. If this is approved, we open the gates for future development, then where does this stop? As there is over 100 additional acres in this area undeveloped. We appreciate the developers and the city's due influence to address our concerns while ensuring everyone's safety. At this point in time, it seems the best handled by denying the variance and waiting until a second point of appropriate egress is made available to the developer from an additional major roads to be built. Thus, we are in support of the city planner's recommendation to deny the variance. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I've got 4 names left up on the board. If you can each do it in 2 minutes, we'll run that quickly. Mr. Kieschnick, I'll start with you since your hand has been up the longest. You have 2 minutes, please. Mr. Kieschnick? Your microphone is muted, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm Gerald Kieschnick. I live at 1109 Eagle Point Drive here at Frederickson Ranch with my wife, Terry. We moved to Georgetown in 1981 and have been here almost all of the last 40 years. In 2015, we built our home in Frederickson Ranch, and we've lived here happily for 5.5 years. But here are the questions and concerns about road safety in Frederickson Ranch if or when additional subdivisions are developed that connect with existing streets in our subdivision. We want to know how currently proposed and future development would impact traffic on existing streets in Frederickson Ranch. We want to know the estimated increase in average daily trips for this phase and future phases. And we have grave concerns about the impact of such increased road usage on the safety of residents in our neighborhood. As you've heard, number 2, there's only one way in and one way out of Frederickson Ranch. We're concerned about the additional traffic from vehicles cutting through our neighborhood and those adjacent to us. For example, from Highway 29 to Cedar Breaks Park and Lake Georgetown with RVs, campers, and boats. Those large vehicles on our narrow streets would surely create dangerous conditions for pedestrians, bikers, and others who currently use our streets without that kind of hazardous traffic. We are concerned about the absence of sidewalks and any other speed calming measures, both current and future, the addition of which would contribute to our subdivision safety. We are reasonable people. We live in Frederickson Ranch, and while we want to cooperate peacefully with likely inevitable developments in our general vicinity, we respectfully request clear and cogent answers to and resolution of these questions and concerns before any new developments are approved and initiated. Thank you for your thoughtful and responsible consideration of our requests and concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Kieschnick. Brian Zollers, calling on you, please, for 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Byron Zollers. I live at 213 Windridge Cove. I'm a resident of the Lost River Ranches subdivision, which joins the Broussard tract to the west. If you look at the applicant's exhibit number 3, which is entitled Concept Plan, if you look at that document, there are 3 connecting roads shown between the proposed South Lake Ranch subdivision and the Lost River Ranches subdivision. These roads are marked as, quote, potential connection points, unquote. I understand that those roads are not part of the current plan, but they've been drawn on a plat, and that plat has been submitted to the city. It sure seems clear that future development of the western half of the Broussard tract, and perhaps even development of the adjoining Young tract to the south, is anticipated. The alignment of South Lake Ranch Road and the proposed South Lake Ranch plat is suited for making these potential connections to Lost River Ranches. Further, in the P&Z staff report, which is also part of the document package, the remarks made, I believe, by David in the approval criteria mention that, quote, the existing large lots to the west will redevelop and connectivity can be extended to this tract from the west, unquote. This indicates that city staff believe that connectivity to Lost River Ranches could potentially satisfy UDC criteria. So I want to say here that the residents of Lost River Ranches strenuously oppose connecting roads to our subdivision. We understand that development of adjacent land might be inevitable. However, we do not want connecting roads to our subdivision. So I ask that this commission deny the applicant's request for the variance. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zollers. Appreciate it. And the last one I have is Marie Michaels.
This is Marie Michaels. Can you hear me? I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, that's much better. Go ahead, please. Can we get Himmelberg's microphone muted, please? And yeah, okay, Ms. Michaels, are you available now? All right, so we're not making connection there. All right, at this point, then I'm going to close the public hearing.
This is Marie Michaels. I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I will open the public hearing long enough for you to take your 2 minutes.
I'm having technology issues, so I'm going to go ahead and go with my.
Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Marie Michaels. I live at 219 Wind Ridge in the Lost River Ranches. We've already heard other members of our community discuss the natural aspect that we don't want to lose with the wildlife that we enjoy and the safety of being able to walk our roads and ride our bikes. So I won't go further into that. I'm opposed to the idea that Ashby Homes would assume that homeowners' private property could be used as a backup plan and would be sacrificed for their own economic benefit, causing a loss of valuation to their private property owners. Texas prides itself on its strong protection of private property rights for homeowners, and I hope that the city of Georgetown also believes that Texas private property homeowners have a right to their private property. For this reason, I believe the commission should deny this variance, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So at this point in time, I will close the public hearing and give Mr. Ashby an opportunity to respond to the comments, the numerous comments that we've heard.
Thank you, Ursula. I'm sorry. It appears there's a lot of misconfusion here, and I want to start by going all the way back to when David Monk mentioned that the proposed drawing showing the connection to Lost River, which is required by the city in any development, they want potential connection streets, whether it has anything to do with property I have or do not have. That was at direct request by the city. And it appears it's wasted a lot of people's time thinking that this may or may not go through Lost River, because there is no potential chance that my 19 acres ties into anything in Lost River, and it will not. Whether Broussard or anybody else purchasing Broussard, if that happens down the road, that's none of my business. What I have is 19.7 acres that comes nowhere close to Lost River, and it appears that what the city failed to show was my plat. What they showed you was potential connections to Lost River, and it appears they did it so that they would get the response they got today, which wasted a lot of people's time, and I apologize for that. But I do want to be clear that I have nothing to do with any property west of mine, Broussard's, Lost River, any of the tracks in there. And on top of that, I noticed there was a lot of hesitation and questions from Frederickson Ranch as well. I counted 10 or 12, maybe 15 in there, most of which I had a conversation with the other day, all related to water, drainage, traffic, all that kind of stuff that we all heard. I'd like to, the same thing I stated to those residents who came to my office the other day was the city engineering department will make sure we have water, make sure they have water, make sure we do not drain onto their lots and cause other issues. However, it seems like some of the issues they're dealing with are all builder related and not necessarily county or city issues with drainage. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows the city is regulating drainage and the county's reviewing everything as well as far as drainage, water pressures, water supply. We don't have issues with that today that won't be addressed throughout the construction plans and approval process. So anything that happens on South Lake Ranch will not adversely affect Frederickson Ranch. And as I mentioned, we're not touching the Lost River, Middle Gabriel Estate, so obviously it won't have anything to do with that as well. As far as traffic goes, most of the homes in this community, I would expect, are going to be very similar to Frederickson Ranch, and the majority of them will end up being empty nesters. We're talking about 10, and in reality, 10 additional lots opposed to what the law of the UDC allows today. So I'm trying to get through this real quickly, so please bear with me. I'm going to look at a couple other things here. The other point that a few of the Frederickson Ranch people brought up was home values, and I assure you that the values of the homes on these 14 lots will be at or greater than anything in Frederickson Ranch. I don't expect anything in there to be less than anything at the bottom of the Frederickson Ranch price point. I do know that we've heard comments from other developers and builders in the area, all of which have called the seller once they found out I was purchasing the project. So those comments are what they are, and we all know that that's just the way it works. Is if you don't get it, you oppose to it and have family opposed to it and all that kind of stuff. So I encourage you just to look at the 10 additional lots, and if you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer them. We've had conversations with Jason Fryer today and in regards to the fire sprinkler systems, and you know, we're doing this in other communities as the code allows, and it's being perceived great, and truthfully, it's no adverse effect on any home out there. It's all for the better. As Jay Warren mentioned earlier, having a fire suppression system in your house is a benefit, not a detriment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, this is now up here on the table for us, and let me bring Sophia back in, and because this is a variance, we do have to have a majority, a 2/3 majority of the commissioners would have to support a request for the variance to be approved, and that would be a minimum of 6 votes would have to vote to approve that subdivision variance. Am I correct?
That is correct. The UDC does require for approval a supermajority vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve a request.
And either a motion to approve or a motion to disapprove has to cite at least 4 of the 5 items included in the approval criteria presentation list tonight, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And we can bring up that criteria up for your review. I think Andrena has control of the presentations, and that way you can have that in front of you as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, commissioners, this is up to us now. Any thoughts, comments, discussion? Now's the time.
So this is Travis. I've got another question for the applicant. I'd like them to weigh in on the existing access easement. That was something that didn't get covered in his comments, and I'd like some clarification on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Norm.
Yes, sir. I would like to address that. So we've researched the deeds in the access easement, and it is an actual deeded easement to the property in question here, which is why I brought up earlier that if necessary, that turns into a ribbon curb street, subdivision street, primary access to the subdivision. It's not ideal for anybody, for all the residents along Eagle Point who obviously did not support this project, having a road in their backyard. Having it as a secondary access, emergency access, is ideal for the subdivision as well as all of those residents who are not supporting it. However, you know, it is a point of contention where we could use that as a primary access if needed. There's nothing blocking anybody from improving an easement, in other words.
Okay, that, commissioners, we need to terminate the discussions with the applicant and keep the discussions here or with staff. So, any other questions for amongst our discussion amongst each other?
This is Aaron. I have a question for staff.
Sure, go ahead.
So when we add density, what I'm trying to wrap my head around is what triggers in our current design standards to upgrade what we would consider like a tertiary residential road, a feeder road, to be upgraded based on volume. What kind of volume would warrant that to our current standards? So if a lot of the concern is about what Crockett Gardens provides, because currently the way this is proposed, that would be your primary point of access. Adding 10 homes to our current standards, would that trigger anything that would warrant a potential upgrade to that road by volume?
You know, I think that's one of the limitations of our current development regulations in the ETJ is that we trigger traffic impact analysis based on trip counts. And a 14-lot subdivision is so light in its trip counts that it doesn't trigger any kind of TIA. So you don't get the opportunity to walk in and say, okay, what's the improvements that have to be made in order to mitigate this traffic impact? David, am I correct on that?
Yes, sir. So you're correct. I mean, it's very few trips. You know, it's the two ways in that the code is trying to stop. But yes, it's very little trips. It wouldn't be very big at all.
Does that help you, Aaron?
It does. And then a second question, this is more about formalities and how we approach approval or disapproval of their request. Right now, they're technically requesting 2 variances. So do we need to treat these as 2 separate requests and how we present for vote?
It's easier if you can treat them as a single motion. You're free to do that. But if you feel like you need to treat them as a separate motion, you can do that as well. We can certainly handle 2 motions.
Sure. Okay. I'll leave the floor open for other discussion. Thank you.
Questions or comments from other commissioners? I'm going to get a read of the commission on this. So I'm going to walk down the line here and kind of ask commissioners to give me your thoughts on where you are. And I'll start with Marlene, please.
I think that's unfair. No, I meant being.
You mean it's unfair that you're asked first?
Absolutely.
Okay, then let me go to Travis and I'll give you time.
This is Travis. I'll be glad to go first.
All right, thank you, Travis.
Yeah, so I think I'll probably go at this backwards. Looking at the second variance request, you know, I try to look at variance requests pretty thoroughly, and I don't know that I fully understand that one to the point where I support the variance on additional access points. But you know, I think there's 4 of the items on the first one that after looking at it, I could support the variance request for the first variance request. So you know,
and that, would you articulate exactly what the first variance request is in your mind?
Can we pull it up on the screen where the 2 of them are? Wait, I'm not. Let's see.
Andrea, would you mind flipping to the caption, please? Thank you.
So the first one being the minimum number of connection points to a major street and to future existing streets.
Okay.
Basically, the way that the property sets up and what they're trying to do, I don't think that adding 14 more lots in there is going to make a gigantic difference. I don't know why there can't be an additional, road going out of there. But as far as 14 more lots, I don't see a huge issue there. I mean, it basically renders it unsubdividable, creates unnecessary hardship. So that's me going first.
Well, it's without the variance, it's a 4-lot subdivision, and with the variance, it's a 14-lot subdivision. It's still divisible into 4 lots, according to what we were told earlier. All right. Jay?
Yes, sir. I'm definitely in favor of granting the variance. I think it's crazy to tell somebody, well, you're going to have to wait 25 years, 30 years, it may only be 2 years, but at some point in time, so long as there's a stub out left to be used going either south or west of that, and there's a stub out, so when future development happens, it can be there is connectivity, and that's why we have stub outs and subdivisions as we build them. No one buys a house in a subdivision and thinks that there's going to be no growth, especially around Georgetown. You can't buy a house or live in a house and think that there's not going to be any growth. So that's why developers put stub outs in, so that they can connect to other developments and go to larger feeder roads. So I'm definitely in favor of granting the variance.
Okay, thank you. Cherie?
I am, based on the readouts that we've heard over the past hour and a half, I am not in favor at this time to support the motion of the applicant's request for a subdivision variance.
Okay, thank you. Kayla? And let's go back to Marlene. You've had a chance to gather your thoughts by now.
Yes, sir. I have very mixed feelings, obviously, or I would have spoken earlier. I concur that I don't think going from 4 to 14 lots is going to make that much difference in traffic. Or destroy the country life that people purchase there. On the other hand, when that many people in the community take the time to speak to this board or to this panel, I think it is important that we listen and also that the developer listen. And I wish that there had been more collaboration so that some of the misconceptions weren't there, because I'm not real sure that the misconceptions have been addressed to everybody's satisfaction. So I wish there was a way we could pull this off the agenda and let that happen and then bring it back. That's my concern. And
that's fair. That's fair. Aaron?
Sure. First off, I just want to start by saying I definitely appreciate all the insight and the feedback that has been presented tonight. I think that it's a good thing when we create an open and healthy dialogue. I think our country can use a lot more of that, to be perfectly honest. That said, as it relates specifically to what we're talking about here today, what I see is it's almost like we're paying for what I would call mistakes maybe from the past with what we see with the development of Frederickson Ranch, and the fact that that was an example of a property that didn't account for how do I expand to future development that surrounds it. And I think that that's an example of a lot of examples that we've seen throughout our city and the ETJ that have really been a big part of why design standards were developed in 2017, and we're seeing those design standards being applied to this applicant. I do believe that to hold the applicant to a standard that they can't develop because of the rigid definition of the code, that you have to have 2 access points when the way that this lays out is, in my opinion, I think a hardship in the fact that he doesn't have the ability to purchase that land to the left. He doesn't have that control. And so I feel like to just kill it on arrival based on the understanding that, well, what if happens in the future? And it really prevents the applicant from being able to have the right to develop on his land, which again is something that we want to maintain and protect as long as it's in alignment in accordance with our design standards that we have in place. So I think there's a conflict and a variance here that is an applicable variance. That said, so I would support the first portion of that. I don't support the variance to not require additional stubs in the way that he chooses to develop that property. And I think that's exactly doing so would be a repeat error from what we saw in the adjacent properties and other properties around the city. We have to be smart about how things develop. The development is coming, and I think that the design standards that a lot of the surrounding residents brought up, once it gets past our review board and our approval and goes into the more detailed design standards of the engineering for your water pressure and your water runoff and all the things that were brought up, I trust that our system will be able to address those standards as it goes through that process. But I'm not going to vote for something that continues to restrict access, but I do believe in development. And I feel in this case, all things considered, I would approve the first portion of this request. That's my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Kayla?
Chair, it does look like she fell off the call.
Okay. All right. My thoughts are, so let me back up then. If she's off the call, are we at 6?
Myrna, can you confirm that, please? 1, 2, 3.
That puts us at 6. I need to get
Yes.
somebody. Okay. Jerry McCulley, are you still here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, congratulations. You're now up.
Oh my God.
I hope you listened.
Oh, I've been listening, but not as well as I probably should have if I'd known I was going to have to vote.
All right. Do you have questions or comments or?
Oh, it's really a sticky wicket. That's all there is to it. You don't want to hold somebody back from their development capabilities, but it doesn't sound like we've had too much communication out there. I don't know the area that well.
Okay, thank you. Let me wrap up and just tell you my thoughts on this, and I'll make this as quick as I can. I think that the reality of future growth and development is here. It's here to stay for a long time. I'm concerned about the angst that this application generated, especially amongst the property owners to the west, who are concerned about what the city, the quote, city's aims are. And I think we have unnecessarily generated a lot of extra confusion here this evening that I don't think was necessary at all. My sense is that going from 4 lots to 14 lots doesn't create as much of an issue for me. You know, I've seen what Mr. Ashby builds, I've seen what Mr. Frederickson built, and I'm not, I don't think that product is detrimental at all to the market. I will tell you that given the comments from dozens of people here this evening, I'm not sure why anybody wants to live out there. It sounds to me like there's a bunch of issues, but those issues come with the development, and that startles me because I've driven out there a lot, and I've drove out there before there was any houses out there, and when Mr. Frederickson started, I've been out there more times than I care to admit. I thought this was a pretty good operation. I thought it was a pretty good project, and I've always been favorably impressed, but I got to tell you, I don't know how you would market today based on these comments. But that's just the way it is, I guess. I don't think that the waiver for the stub outs is, I wouldn't support that. But going from 4 to 14 is not, it's not hugely detrimental in my opinion. But okay, with that said, everybody has had a say here. Any other comments from the board? If not, commissioners, the floor is open to a motion.
This is Aaron.
Okay.
I'd like to put forward a motion that we approve the first part of the applicant's request for a variance from section 12.05.010 alpha of the Unified Development Code, which requires a subdivision of 80 to 499 lots to have 2 connections to a major street. And then I would like to oppose the applicant's request to request a variance from section 12.05.01. of the Unified Development Code, requiring subdivisions of 5 to 80 lots to have a minimum of 3 connections to existing or future streets.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve the first item, which is the allowing 14 lots, while denying the second request, which if enacted would require 3 connections to be shown on his plat instead of 2. And you need to, as part of that, would need to cite which of the approval criteria are relevant.
Give me 1 second here. I need to pull that back up.
Okay, so
it's on the screen. It's on the screen.
Okay. So based on the fact that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public health and safety or welfare or injuries to other property in the area or to the city in administering this code, that I feel that it does comply on that standard. I think that it is in compliance with the fact that the granting of the variance would not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan and the purposes of this code. I think that it complies with the fact that the conditions that create the need for the variance do not generally apply to the other properties in the vicinity. that it complies with the fact that the application of the provision of this code will render subdivisions of the land impossible, and that it complies with literal enforcement of these regulations will result in unnecessary hardship.
Okay, basically you're finding compliance with all of the approval criteria.
Based on the approval of the first portion and the denial of the second, if that's
correct. Okay, commissioners, is there a second to that motion?
Well, I've got a question of the motion.
Okay.
So the way I understand it is the first one is saying we're saying you don't have to have 2 ingress egress points. And then the second part is saying you have to have 3. So that's if I understand, the way I understand it is.
No, Jay, the first one addresses the connections to a major roadway, and because this is the connection into the subdivision is on a local road, what's classified as a local road. Technically, right. He would have to have the 2 connection points. So what's being said is that the 14 lots would require him to have 2 connection points, and he doesn't have that. He only has the 1 connection point. What the variance grants is, as Aaron has stated, it would grant him the right to build his 14 lots, but he would have to have, in addition to the stub out to the west in his plat, he would have to have a stub out to somewhere else. Probably.
Okay, so that's just adding 2 additional stub outs, not having to connect into 2 additional streets. That's so correct. He's still going only into Bowie is his ingress egress point, and then he'd have 2 stub outs, maybe 1 south, maybe 1 west, or whatever works best for the platting of his lots. Is that correct, Aaron? Is that what you were intending?
That is correct, and what it does is it gives you, based on the way that code is designed, future development will likely not be as pinpointed as what he's dealing with right now, because there's options for future connectivity.
Then I second the motion presented by Commissioner Albright.
Excuse me, Chair and Commissioner Albright, Sophia Nelson here. Thank you for citing the criteria for your request, for your recommendation to approve the first part. But for clarity of the motion, may I ask you to also clarify which criteria it does not meet for the variance you're opposed to?
Sure. And perhaps maybe that's why we should have split these up to begin with, but I'll clarify that.
Thank you very much.
So I'm proposing a motion to deny the applicant's second request for variance based on the following criteria: that it does not comply with the fact that granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or injurious to other property in the area or the city in administering this code, that it does not comply with the fact that the granting of the variance would not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan and the purposes of this code, that it does not comply with the fact that the conditions that create the need for the variance do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity, that it does not comply with the fact that application of the provision of this code will render subdivision of the land impossible, and that it does not comply with the fact that where literal enforcement of these regulations would result in an unnecessary hardship.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Will you accept that?
Yes, absolutely. So I second Commissioner Albright's motion.
Okay. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Have any discussion? Myrna, call the roll, please.
Aaron Albright,
Yes.
Cherie Heinzman,
No.
Marlene McMichael,
Yes.
Travis Perthias,
Yes.
Jay Warren,
Yes, ma'am.
Jerry McCulley,
No.
I would vote yes, but the motion will fail because that is a 5-2, and that does not meet the 3/4. Am I stating that correctly, Sophia?
Yes, sir, you are.
So the requested variance as it stands now fails. The variance request fails. Okay. All right. Do anyone want to offer a substitute motion?
Well, I would offer a motion to approve both variances, but it doesn't sound like that would go over any better.
If you want to make a motion to that effect, you're free to do so.
I'll make the motion to approve both variances as presented by staff.
I'll need you to, please excuse me, Sophia Nelson here again. I'll need you to cite the criteria as part of your motion.
All right, that granting the variance will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, welfare, or injurious to the property of the area of the city administering the code. I feel it complies. That granting the variance would not substantially conflict with the comprehensive plan and the purposes of the code. I feel that complies. The conditions that create the need for the variance do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Complies. The application of a provision of this code will render the subdivision of the land impossible. Absolutely complies. And where the literal enforcement of this regulation would result in an unnecessary hardship on the landowner, definitely complies.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second? Just so we can vote, I will second that motion and ask Myrna to call the roll, please.
Aaron Albright,
No.
Sheree Heinzman,
No.
Marlene McMichael,
No.
Travis Perthias,
No.
Jay Warren,
Ma'am.
Jerry McCauley,
No.
Ursula Brashear,
No. So that motion fails on a 1-6. So that item is now done. We're going to move on. Okay, that takes us to our second agenda item of the night, which is item AX. And that will be file number 2020-9-ANX, and that's Ethan. And I ask you to please read the caption.
Of course. Good evening, Commissioners. Item AX, public hearing and possible action on a request for a zoning map amendment to zone upon annexation a 25.435 acre tract of land out of the Frederick Foy Survey, abstract number 229, to the Planned Unit Development PUD zoning district with a base district of residential single family RS for the property generally located at 700 County Road 245, case number 2029 ANX. So good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for sticking with us this long and being attentive as always. The request before you tonight is in relation to an annexation request. So the applicant has not only made a request to annex this property, but also to designate it as a planned unit development. Of course, tonight we are only considering whether the request for the initial zoning of PUD is appropriate. We're not necessarily considering whether or not annexation of the property as a whole is appropriate. The property is located off County Road 245 between Ronald Reagan and Williams Drive in the far western part of the city. You'll see To the east, you have the existing Sun City development, and to the west, you have new development that's under construction. The Trace Terrace neighborhood, Highland Village neighborhood, and if this map was a little bit larger, again to the west, you would see the Palmer Ranch development there at the intersection of Williams Drive and Ronald Reagan. Around the boundaries of this property, you can see a tree line that wraps around the north and east property boundary. That is actually Cowan Creek. The future land use designation on this property is split. A majority of the properties is given our mixed density neighborhood designation, and the area around Cowan Creek and its associated floodplain is given the open space designation. Interestingly enough, if you look at this map from a large scale, you'll see that Cowan Creek bisects this map, kind of creating two residential areas on either side of the creek. The property to the south here, you'll see, doesn't have that mixed density neighborhood designation, but instead has our less dense neighborhood future land use designation. You'll know our mixed density neighborhood designation as our, as you've seen it before, but this is our, these are the areas of the city in which we envision to have a smaller lot, suburban style home, and even potentially a mixture of attached style homes like a duplex or a triplex, and maybe even some low to moderate density multifamily if appropriate. The proposed PUD is proposed as an extension to the existing Sun City development. You'll see that this is just to the west of the recently approved Somerset PUD. A portion of this PUD has already started to be developed adjacent to this property, and the applicant is really wishing to expand the boundaries of Sun City onto this property to accommodate space for a new amenity center site and for some residential homes to complement that amenity center. Sun City is traditionally developed as a PUD since its inception in 1999. So you'll see the amenity center will be just under 15 acres in size, and will have all of the common amenities that you see in the current Sun City amenity centers, multi-purpose rooms, sport courts, workout facilities, that sort of thing. The applicant is also proposing to entitle the property for up to 50 residential units that could take a variety of styles. They could develop this as their single-family detached product, a single-family attached product, think of that as a duplex style home with a lot line down the middle, or a townhouse product. On the concept plan, you'll also see that they have laid out the plan with respect to Cowan Creek. So you won't see the residential portion of the neighborhood up against the floodplain. You'll see it down south, proposing some additional connections to meet our connectivity requirements in the future with the property to the south, which is yet to be undeveloped. And you'll see the amenity center, which will have a majority of the open space on the property and open space amenities adjacent to the floodplain for compatibility. On the west side, you'll also see a golf cart connection over Cowan Creek. This golf cart connection is crucial to connecting this back to the main portion of Sun City, since there's no actual public street connection back into Sun City. But this would allow Sun City residents who commonly use golf carts, Sun City is a golf cart community designated by the state, to access this facility without getting back on public, leaving the boundaries of Sun City, coming up 245 to access this property. We did review this request against our approval criteria for a rezoning and found that it complied. The applicant's intention to floodplain, future connectivity requirements, and the future land use designation, providing the mixture, allowing themselves to develop this with a variety of different housing styles, if they so desired, met our comprehensive plan. Their attention to the floodplain promoted the health, safety, and welfare of the city, and is compatible with the existing uses and present zoning here, because the standards they are proposing on this property are exactly the same standards that they are currently developing with on the Somerset property just to the east. Of course, we also reviewed this approval criteria, reviewed this request against the approval criteria for a PUD, and for the same reasons we found it complied with our typical rezoning requests, and we found that it complied with fully complied with all but one of the approval criteria for a PUD that being the provisions of recreational facilities for all segments of the community. Because this is a part of Sun City, the recreational facilities they propose will only be open to members of the Sun City Neighborhood Association. However, that is a majority of the residents in this area. So for that reason, we give it a partially complies. We did go through our standard public notification process. We sent 7 letters to 7 property owners within our 300-foot buffer, posted notice in the Sun newspaper, posted 1 sign on the property, and to date have not received any public comment or inquiries. This is a public hearing, and we are asking you to make a recommendation to the City Council today. I'm here for questions, as well as the applicant. The applicant also has a short presentation.
Okay, thank you, Ethan. Commissioners, any questions for staff? All right, if not, then is the applicant present? Would you like to make a brief presentation to the commission?
Yes, sir. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. My name is Peter Verdicchio at SEC Planning. I promised to be brief here this evening as we've sat through your last hearing. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time walking through technical details of what is within the PUD. I think Ethan's done a great job explaining that to you. So I have a very brief presentation here, really more addressing the why than anything else. And so if we could go to the first slide. Thank you. So like I said, the question probably before us as much as anything with this being part of Sun City and Sun City out there since 1993, the question might be, why are we considering this 25-acre tract today? So this property was part of the original Del Webb assemblage back in 1993 through 1995. And what ended up happening with this piece of land, as Ethan described, it was bisected, cut off from the rest of the community by Cowan Creek. And there had been a strong struggle for years on what to do with this piece of land. So while we went through the Somerset PUD back in, gosh, I want to say it was like 2012, the amendment in 1617, this piece of land just kind of kept being left aside with the recognition and acknowledgement that at some point in time, we as a community with the community association, residents, clubs, everybody else involved, we'd find the highest and best use of this property to benefit the Sun City community. And of late, what has come up in great demand is more amenities. In particular, pickleball courts. Pickleball is a highly desirable sport. There's a lot of demand for it out at Sun City. You know, I've been working on Sun City since 1995, and it just amazes me how pickleball just popularity keeps increasing. We can't build enough courts. And so the decision was made, let's study this tract. It ends up being an ideal location because it's not buried in the neighborhood that will create noise and traffic and activity in people's backyards, while at the same time providing, as Ethan talked to, the prototypical, the Sun City type of connectivity with a golf cart connection across Cowan Creek. So what we have before you tonight for your consideration is this PUD. And the reason we did a PUD is to ensure that we can maintain the same development standards that are in both the Queen PUD out on 195 as well as the Somerset PUD south of Reagan. So that's why we elected the PUD route, just to maintain consistency of design standards for ourselves as well as city staff in the review process. So this proposal, like I said, it's 80% of the land. If we want to go to the next one, thank you. 80% of this tract in the PUD is allocated for either recreational or open space uses, with the remaining 20% is residential. We see an opportunity for a little bit different of a residential here. There's been interest in attached products, so we're kind of seeing this as a little bit different of a product, really around the synergy of this amenity center site that we're hoping to be able to offer. And with that, I will make myself available for any questions you all may have. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Peter. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? All right, not hearing any. This is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing. Do we have anyone that has signed up to speak from your side, Sophia?
I do not see anybody's hand raised, nor do I see any chats asking to speak. And Myrna, have we received any written comments on this item?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Not seeing or hearing anyone want to speak, I want to close the public hearing. And commissioners, this comes up to the floor. What is your recommendation to the city council?
This is Jay. I recommend approval as presented.
Okay, so I have a motion by Commissioner Warren to recommend approval as presented. Do I have a second?
This is Marlene. I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner McMichael. Any discussion? Myrna, call the roll, please.
Mr. Chairman.
Whoa, I'm sorry. Who?
I'm sorry. This is Kayla McCord. I lost my connection, and even though I reestablished it, I couldn't get unmuted. I thought I'd let you know I'm here.
Okay, thank you. We will, Jerry, your baptism by fire is over. Kayla is back. She will.
I am so sorry.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Okay, Myrna?
Aaron Albright.
Yes.
Cherie Heisman.
Yes.
Kayla McCord.
Yes.
Marlene McMichael.
Yes.
Travis Perseus.
Yes.
Jay Warren.
Yes, ma'am.
Ursula Brashear.
Yes, so the motion carries 7-0. That moves us to item AY, and this is file number 2020-11-REZ. Adriana, this is yours.
Good
Welcome.
evening. Thank you, sir. Good evening, Commissioner. We are almost done with the agenda, so please bear with us for just quite a moment. So as described, this item is a public hearing and possible action on a request for a zoning map amendment to rezone approximately 2.9 acres consisting of Lot 1 Innovations Corporate Center from the agriculture and the industrial zoning districts to the general commercial zoning district for the property that's generally located at 275 Southeast Inner Loop. The subject property, as you can see on the screen in front of you, highlighted in red, is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Southeast Inner Loop and Sneed Drive, just a little bit east of where South Austin Avenue intersects with Inner Loop, as well as the I-35 frontage road. If you look here at the aerial map, the subject property is surrounded by both developed and undeveloped land. You see, if we work clockwise towards the north, you can actually see the rest of the property that comprises of the Innovations Corporate Center, which is roughly these 3 lots right here that have been developed with office / warehousing flex space that can actually accommodate a range of uses. And so this is, it comprises of a total of about approximately 80,000 square feet of total building between the 3 of them. But this property is located within an area that has primarily been developed with a lot of industrial manufacturing, distribution types of uses, as you can see here. Also, just for point of reference, to the east, you'll see it's the Williamson County office facilities that are located there. And then towards the south, you see a lot of undeveloped vacant land that currently right now is located within the ETJ. So this property is located within our Employment Center future land use destination, as you can see here on the screen. And all this area that is primarily north of Southeast Inner Loop and then east of Sneed Drive and as well as Blue Springs Boulevard, as you can see, is also entitled and envisioned, I should say it's envisioned to be also within that Employment Center category. And then just south across the street from Southeast Inner Loop, west of Blues Boulevard towards the frontage road, you see that it's envisioned to be of a regional center node to really be able to accommodate more of those large retail, intense commercial types of uses that draw people from a regional standpoint. But the employment center category is really more intended to be able to encourage uses that are more sort of like employment generating uses, and that are able to really support high economic activities. And so because of that, it encourages and envisions uses that include advanced manufacturing, life sciences, and other professional services. But it also encourages and allows for other supporting uses such as flex workspace, retail, commercial, even to some extent where appropriate, high density residential and mixed use development. And so the property as read in the caption, it is currently has two zoning districts, part industrial and part agriculture zoning district. And as you can see, because of the industrial nature of this area, it is primarily zoned and entitled, at least for those properties that are within the city limits, in that industrial zoning category. However, if you look on the south side of Inner Loop, you do see that there's also some properties that are also entitled for that general commercial zoning district. And then you have the remainder of the property that does not have a zoning district because they're located in the ETJ. However, as you may recall from our future land use map, it is envisioned to be more of a regional center with a lot of commercial draw. And so the property owner is currently requesting to rezone that bottom portion of their development, that lot 1, into the general commercial zoning district. And general commercial zoning districts, as you may recall, it's our most intense commercial zoning district because it does allow for commercial and retail service uses that can support a greater region. And because of that, it is always encouraged to be located along major roadways such as arterials and freeways, as it is the Southeast Inner Loop roadway that fronts this property. You can see in the blue box the dimensional standards of the C3 zoning districts, including its setbacks provisions, buffer yard requirements, as well as any additional setbacks that would apply should this property be adjacent to residential. However, because it surrounds both industrial zoning district and roadways, only just the standard setbacks would apply. Uses that are permitted within this category include car washes, consumer repairs, but also your uses like general office, general retail, hospital, hotels. Some of the uses that are permitted with limitations, meaning that they just have to be subject to additional design standards, include churches, community centers, kennel, fuel cells. And then some of those uses that would require a special use permit and would come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation include some of those bigger general auto repair types of uses, firing ranges, flea markets, meat markets, and so forth. So staff reviewed the request based on the approval criteria that we have for a zoning map amendment, and we found that it complies with the criteria. Specifically, we found that we did have a complete application. We also found that it is consistent with a comprehensive plan because, as you may recall, the future land use category is an employment center category that not only encourages those employment generated type of uses and a lot of those industrial types of uses, but it also encourages and supports retail and other commercial uses that you would typically see in the general commercial zoning district in order to be able to support those employment generator uses that you may find in the area. We also found that it promotes the health, safety, and general welfare of the city, as well as the orderly development of the city, because this property is located along a major thoroughfare. It is also located within that boundary of that regional center area destination, so it'll definitely be able to provide for a good transition of uses where you go from that heavy commercial uses on towards the industrial uses. We also found that it is compatible with the present and conforming uses of the nearby property. As you may recall, the surrounding areas are zoned already for industrial. And so a general commercial zoning district is found to be compatible with next to industrial because it can provide for that level of transition, as well as it can allow for some of those supporting uses that are needed for industrial areas. And then the property, based on its size and its location, is also suitable for all the uses that are permitted by right. As you may recall, this property is actually already developed. There's an existing building there. It has existing parking, landscaping provisions, all in compliance with our Unified Development Code. And so it is able to accommodate a lot of the uses that are permitted in the C3 zoning district. All 4 property owners were notified within the 300-foot buffer, as well as notices placed on the property and in the newspaper. And to date, staff has not received any written comments in opposition or in favor of the request. And so in summary, this, as mentioned, this is a public hearing and possible action on a zoning map amendment to rezone the property approximately 3 acres from agriculture and industrial zoning district to the general commercial zoning district. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is also on the line to help answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions for staff? I do have one, well, actually I have 2 questions for you, Andreana. The first is the impact of the change is to change the potential tenant mix in the existing structure, so
Yes,
that
sir.
they can do more restaurant or other type of uses that they, rather than just strictly the office that they planned on.
That is staff's understanding, and the applicant is also available. But yes, being able to provide, the reason for it is so that some of those commercial uses that are allowed in C3 maybe go into those buildings, so that they can, such as, it's particularly like the food establishment service types of uses, so that it can support the other uses that are within that same property or within the surrounding area.
So the strip between the right-of-way and the portion of the property that is already zoned, how big is that strip, and how much, I mean, how much land is in that area between the building and the edge of the right-of-way?
Between here,
Is the red the property boundary?
yes, sir. The red
Okay.
defines here is the property line.
Okay. Yeah, my question was, were we creating another gas station location with this change? And I mean, so that's what C3 does for us. It opens the door for that. And I don't see that necessarily, but we'll ask the applicant to address that. This has been through the platting process, has it not?
Yes, sir. It's already, it's
So
platted.
it's donated right away and all of that? Okay.
Correct, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions for staff? If not, if the applicant would like to make a brief presentation, the floor is yours.
I'm here, I think.
We think we hear you too.
Okay. Our intent here for doing this is...
Could you start with your name and address?
I'm sorry, my name is Ken Horak. I'm a partner in Intervisions LLC who developed that property. We're developing or working on a development with staff right now on another 30 acres on the other side of Williamson County's building across the street. We originally owned 10 acres at 1460, which we had intended to provide services for our tenants, which didn't happen. And so the city bought that property from us. And so we felt like this was an ideal location, primarily to, and our purpose here, we're not talking about a service station or a convenience store, is to provide services for tenants, both in our existing developments, surrounding existing developments, and our new development, relative to services that don't exist in the area right now. And we have intents, our original intent was to do a small food court within the existing building that we just completed, which seemed like a better idea would be to just go ahead and change the zoning rather than go for a special use permit. So that's where we are. Basically, Not to draw this out any longer tonight, we concur with staff's recommendations for approval.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. So at this point in time, I want to open the public hearing. And do we have anyone who has signed up to speak or indicated an interest in speaking? Sophia?
I do not see any hands raised, nor do I have any chats in the box asking to speak. And Myrna, do you have any speakers who have submitted comments?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to now close the public hearing. And commissioners, this moves to us. And at this point, what is your recommendation to the City Council?
We approve as presented. This is Jay.
Was that Jay? Was that Jay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
Yes, sir.
Your motion was to approve as recommend approval as presented. Okay. Do I
Sir,
have a
yes, sir.
second?
Agreed. This is Sherrill second.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to recommend to the City Council approval of the application as submitted. Any discussion? Myrna, call the roll, please.
Aaron Albright,
Yes.
Sherry Heinzman,
Yes.
Kayla McCord,
Yes.
Marlene McMichael,
Yes.
Travis Perthius,
Yes.
Jay Warren,
Yes, ma'am.
Ursula Brashear,
Yes. So the motion carries 7-0. And that takes us to item AZ, which is our discussion items. Sophia, any updates or announcements?
No, just to thank you for your patience with the technology today. And as we made it through a longer than normal meeting, just thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me give you a quick update. Other boards and commissions, GTAB has started their process, their meeting process again, and they are tackling impact, transportation roadway impact fees. Started that process this last week, and that is running concurrent with the mobility impact or mobility bond committee. And Shirley, you're on that. You want to give us a real brief summary about what's going on there?
Oh, thanks, Ursula, after 3 hours.
You can't remember?
I can't remember after 3 hours. I am so sorry.
Not a problem. So let's just say that the two committees are running in tandem. The goal being to get some sort of transportation fees from the development community as a standard process of the development application, as opposed to relying on traffic impact analysis. And then the mobility is, we just got started with that, and you'll see and hear more about that, and we'll try to keep you up to speed as we go along. Any questions or comments from our alternate members? All right, just a reminder that our October 6th, 2020 meeting is a teleconference at 6 p.m. At this point in time, I need a motion to adjourn.
This is Aaron, so moved.
I have a motion by Aaron. Do I have a second?
Jay, I'll second.
Hey, Myrna, call the roll, please.
Aaron Albright,
Yes.
Sherry Heinzman,
Yes.
Kayla McCord,
Yes.
Marlene McMichael, Travis Perthius,
Yes.
Jay Warren,
Yes.
Ursula Brashear.
Yes. So motion carries 601, and at 7:57. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, folks. I really appreciate your patience this evening, and hopefully we don't have a lot more of these. Y'all have a good week.
Thank you, Ursula.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Ursula.
Yeah. Thank you very much.